I just found out that my best friend has been telling all of our friends that my boyfriend tried to cheat on me, with her. Ellen, 22F, and I, 21F, met through an internship 3 years ago and instantly became best friends. About a year ago, I started crushing on George, 24M, who interns at the same company, but in a different department, as us. Ellen and another one of our coworkers set us up last fall, and we really hit it off. We've fallen in love and we often talk about a future together. This is where things get messy. From early in our relationship, pretty much as soon as we went from just dating to being official, Ellen has been colder to me. She's never made it a secret that she doesn't particularly like George, though she's never said anything direct about it. The only issue she ever raised was when we first got together and he got really sick. I was studying for the MCAT at the time, and I was only about a month out from my main test day when he had a pretty bad flare-up of a chronic illness. Because he knew that Ellen and I were so close, he called her to ask her if she thought he should tell me he was sick, or if it would be better to keep it from me so he didn't take me away from my studies. Ellen didn't like this at all. She told me she thought it was incredibly inappropriate that he tried to contact her like that and he shouldn't have called her about something so personal. I thought her reaction was a little over the top, but I talked to George about it, and he apologized to her and never called her again. But she didn't let it go. A few weeks later at a party, she made a comment about how I was always choosing George over my friends. My roommate was going to be out of town the next week, so she said she should say her goodbyes, since I would probably just spend the whole week at home with George. She tried to play it off as a joke, but I was really surprised she felt that way. I never wanted to be the kind of girl who turns her back on her friends when she gets into a relationship, and I had been trying really hard to balance my time with my boyfriend and with my friends. But it seemed she felt neglected, so I started putting more effort into our friendship. Over the next few weeks, I tried to make plans with her at least 5 or 6 times. Every time, she came up with some excuse not to see me, even once canceling at the last minute and citing a meeting she forgot about, at 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I was hurt. I knew our friendship was dying and every time I tried to revive it, she rejected me. Finally, I decided the ball was in her court. If she wanted to be friends, I was open to it, but I was sick of being rejected, and she would have to be the one to reach out to me. She never did. Meanwhile, things were deteriorating at work. We had been assigned to the same project for the year, which required working very closely together. As our friendship fell apart, she started ignoring me at work, being rude and short, and making my share of our tasks very difficult for me. I felt like she was constantly breathing down my neck and waiting to catch me in a mistake. I figured she was gossiping about me behind my back, but at this point I was so exhausted from dealing with her that I couldn't be bothered about it. She would say whatever she wanted to say, and I would just be nice and patient with her and count down the days until our internship ended. Until today I had lunch with one of our other coworkers, and my good friend, K, 22M, and he told me everything. Apparently, Ellen has been telling all of our coworkers and friends that George has been trying to cheat on me, with her. Telling them that he calls her in the middle of the night, sends her inappropriate texts, and when I hosted a party after I wrote the MCAT, he spent the whole night eyeing her. I know that none of this is true. I love George and I know that he loves me, and even as Kay was telling me all of this I knew that Ellen was lying. It seemed that Kay didn't believe it either, he was just telling me what he had heard, but the thought that she's been going around accusing George of infidelity makes me sick. I went straight to George's house and told him everything. I told him I didn't think for even a second that it was true, and the real betrayal is how Ellen made all this up and spread it around. I was crushed to know that not only did Ellen say all of this, but she'd been saying it to all of my friends for months, and not one of them came to me about it. George helped me get past the hurt stage and now all I feel is rage. Tomorrow I'm going to call my supervisor and ask if I can work from home until the end of my contract so that I never have to see Ellen's face again. I feel so betrayed and I just hate her so much right now. Am I overreacting? Should I be taking the high road and just keep working with Ellen as if I don't know? I feel betrayed by my other friends too, because Kay thinks they all knew what she was saying and not one of them told me. Should I cut them off the same way I plan to cut off Ellen? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Have you given any thought that what she was saying was true? What did boyfriend say about it all? Offer to show texts, etc. Obviously playing devil's advocate here, and either way a real friend would tell you directly about your man acting out, not gossiping, so no judgment on dropping her ass. Reply. I really don't think it could be true. George has offered a number of times to let me go through his phone, which I've declined because I really do trust him and we both agree that the accusations are absurd. He's never been anything but completely honest with me, and he's been saying for weeks that I should drop Ellen because he doesn't like the way she's been treating me. I don't want to contact her about it right now because honestly I'm just so angry, and like you said, if there was any truth to it and if she was ever my friend at all, she should have come to me about it directly. I also don't think Kay would lie about something like this. He's not the kind of person to make up rumors, and there's no way he would have known that George called Ellen if she hadn't told him, albeit a twisted version. Update. 1 year later, I can't believe that I'm still learning more about all the ways that Ellen tried to ruin my life. I'll start with the good news first. Our internship ended without much fanfare. I didn't, as many comments suggested, contact HR or confront Ellen. I did contact our direct supervisor, and told him that our personal relationship had deteriorated and that it had caused some hostility on her part at work, giving specific examples of issues in the workplace without getting into the weeds of the personal pettiness that was going on. He was incredibly understanding and accommodating. I worked from home the rest of the summer, received a glowing recommendation from him, and got hired at our company in my top choice department fresh out of my internship while I finished my degree and applied for medical school. I've been accepted to the top school in my country, and George and I plan on getting married once I finish my studies. Our relationship is stronger than ever. Ellen moved abroad, but stayed very well connected to the friend group that we had formed through the internship. After what happened last year, I slowly began to distance myself from that group, and as I did I realized that I had outgrown a lot of them, anyway. Once I began to see the cracks in the friendships I used to surround myself with, I couldn't unsee all the ways they could be unkind, immature, and toxic to themselves and to one another. I held on to the few people that I knew had my back, and came out of the internship with a handful of good, close friends rather than a big circle of people with shady tendencies. One good friend from the internship, Alice, 22F, had been close with Ellen about a year ago, and has since told me a lot more of the things Ellen said behind my back, partially corroborating Kay's story from last year and adding details to some of the craziest parts. Apparently, to give herself more credibility, Ellen had been telling people that she'd been in touch with my roommate and friend of 11 years, Anna, 22F. Ellen said that Anna also didn't like George, that Anna told her I spent way too much time with him, was neglecting all my friends, that he basically lives at our apartment, and that I always do this when I get into a relationship. She also told people that Anna thinks George is faking his chronic illness, and that I'd been using it as an excuse to blow off my friends. Once when George was at our apartment and had a flare-up, I'd had to cancel plans to stay with him, afraid that he might need me to take him to the hospital. Ellen told everyone that Anna said he didn't seem sick, and that I'd only canceled because I felt like staying home and hanging out with him. When Alice told me all of this, I immediately confronted Anna and told her everything. Although Anna and Ellen had been in touch on and off over the past few years, I'd previously introduced them to one another and they had some mutual interests that they'd occasionally text about. Anna assured me she'd said none of the things Ellen accused her of, and even combed back through all of the messages to see if there was anything she'd said that might have implied anything like that. In going through Anna's messages with Ellen, we noticed a pattern. It seemed that any time I told Ellen I wasn't available, she texted Anna to ask if I was with George. This went back to almost the beginning of my relationship with him. For those running to the comments to ask why Anna didn't tell me this sooner, it didn't strike Anna as bizarre until we looked through the messages after hearing the accusations. I have a bad habit of letting my phone die, so sometimes if someone really needs to get in touch with me they'll contact Anna or George, so in itself, Ellen texting her to ask where I was wasn't out of the ordinary. Ellen texting her to see if I was specifically with George, combined with what Ellen was claiming Anna told her, is the strange part. Coming out the other side of all of this, I've been trying really hard to reflect and learn from the situation. Was I a perfect friend to Ellen? Definitely not. I think there were certainly times at the beginning, when I was first dating George and studying for the MCAT, that I was distant with her. Maybe I should have tried harder to patch up our friendship in those early days by confronting her directly, or maybe I should have been more in tune to how she was feeling and addressed it sooner. Despite everything, I do miss her a lot and I wish things had turned out differently, but I don't think she was fair to me either. If I had withdrawn a little bit into my relationship in its early stages, she should have given me some grace, and confronted me directly when she had a problem rather than going behind my back. She absolutely should not have tried to drag my name through the mud, made things difficult at work, or worst of all tried to destroy George's and Anna's reputations and relationships. I recently heard that Ellen is moving back to the city and tried to get a job at the company where we interned, but she was rejected by every department she applied to. Am I a bad person for feeling a little vindicated? Thanks everyone for your comments last year. I really needed that support, but now I'm just looking for any lessons to be learned. Could I have done anything differently? What can I take away from this to try and be a better friend in the future? Stories number 2. Aita for telling my boyfriend I wouldn't pretend to be Japanese to impress his old high school friends. I, 23F, am a Chinese woman living in America. My boyfriend, 23M, is American and white. I am somewhat aware of a weird thing for Asian women some white American guys have. But most of my boyfriend's exes are African American, so I thought I was in the clear. He's going to attend an event that includes many friends from high school. He told me he wants his friends to think I'm Japanese. He said I don't have to outright say it, I can just do something subtle to give them that impression. One person who will be there is an ex-girlfriend, 24F, of his. She's African American. He promises that his ex has nothing to do with him wanting people to think I'm Japanese. He said it's for his male friends. Even though it's people he rarely sees, so this may be a one-time thing, I told him I wouldn't pretend to be Japanese. Unless it's required, I avoid telling people I'm Chinese. I feel people put much stock into where people are born and I want people to get to know me for me. My boyfriend still wants to go with me, but now he seems like he's dreading it. Am I the asshole? Comments. Commenter 1. He's dreading it because he's already told them that you're Japanese because he's a weeboo fetishizer. Commenter 2. NTA boyfriend and his friends have a weird ass fetish. Reply. Maybe I'm naive, I definitely don't think I understand how kinks and fetishes work. I was hoping most of his exes are African American, that would mean he doesn't have a weird obsession for Asian women. Also, how do many people who were friends because they were in the same grade end up with the same fetish? Is it a social contagion? I am not defending him, I just don't know how this works. Commenter 3. He knows that his friends do and he wants to seem cooler because he'll have something, because he is objectifying you, that they'll see as desirable. He cares more about the opinions of others than how you feel. Do with that as you will. OP. Commenter 4. He might have a fetish for exotic women for which any woman not white could fit. Reply. Your theory fits the most. Maybe my boyfriend have an obsession for non-white women but wants to impress someone who specifically like Japanese women. Commenter 5. Even if it weren't a kink/fetish thing, he is still saying, hey, please be someone else for everyone else, which is problematic in itself. He should want you to be you, not someone else, so he can feel superior for his friends. Commenter 6. Then you will always have to pretend you are Japanese. What for? Update. A tiny update as the conversation I had with my boyfriend was less than 2 hours long. He promises that he doesn't care that I'm Chinese instead of Japanese. He admitted he's physically attracted to women who aren't white. He promises that his old high school friends doesn't have anti-Chinese sentiments. He admitted it was a stupid competitive thing between him and his friends. He said his friends will be impressed that I'm Chinese, but one of his other friends has a South Korean girlfriend. In their weird ranking, even though Chinese is ranked high, South Korean is ranked higher. For them, the only thing that ranks higher than South Korean is Japanese. I broke up with him. I told him and his friends need to have more respect for women. Comments. Commenter 1. Good for you. That sounds like an insanely stupid thing for him to worry about. Commenter 2. Exactly. If your dating life is based on a competition with your high school buddies, you're not ready for a relationship, you're ready for therapy. Commenter 3. The very idea that he and his friends rank the desirability of female partners according to their cultural/ethnic origin is deeply, deeply shitty behavior. You did the right thing to break up with him. Absolutely appalling behavior. Stories number 3. Aita for refusing to cover a friend's meal after she assumed we were splitting the bill again. I, 28F, went out to dinner last weekend with 2 friends, Ashley, 29F, and Jenna, 27F. We have been close for a few years and usually go out together once or twice a month. In the past, we often split the bill evenly, especially when we all ordered similar things. But lately, Ashley has gotten into this habit of ordering way more than everyone else. She gets apps, drinks, and desserts, and still expects us to divide the check by 3. The last time we went out, she ordered a full extra entree for lunch tomorrow and still wanted to split things evenly. So this time, I told both of them ahead of time that I would only pay for what I ordered. I wasn't rude about it. I literally said, hey, just a heads up, I'm going to ask for a separate check this time since I'm on a tighter budget this month. They both said, no problem. When the check came, Ashley looked confused when I only paid for mine. She whispered, oh, I thought we were just going to split it like usual. I reminded her I mentioned doing separate checks, and she shrugged and said, okay, well, I'm a little short this week. Can you cover me and I'll get you back? The thing is, she has said that before, and I have never seen that money again. So I said, sorry, I can't this time, and she got really cold. She Venmo requested Jenna the rest and barely talked to either of us on the way home. Now I am getting texts from her saying things like, it's not about the money, it's the way you handled it, and, you embarrassed me. Jenna thinks I could have just covered it this time and brought it up later, but I am tired of being the fallback wallet. Am I the asshole for refusing to spot her after I warned them in advance? Stories number 4. Aita for telling my parents that their transportation wasn't my problem after they gave my car to my brother. Okay, that title is a little clickbaity. It was their car that I have maintained, and paid the registration and insurance on for years. They have every right to give it away. My mom doesn't drive and my dad had his license taken away after a DUI. I live a couple of blocks away from them and I work from home. I don't really need a car except for getting groceries and running my folks around. My dad's car was a Jeep Grand Cherokee that was only 3 years old when he lost his license. It was fully paid off, so I just took over paying for insurance and registration. It was nice to have a car for errands and for running errands for my folks. And it is a much nicer car than I would have gotten for myself. My brother was over a couple of months ago and he was pissier than usual about me getting a free car. He was hollering about how I'm the golden child and my parents give me everything. So my dad told me to give the car back so he could give it to my brother, since it would be fair because I got to use it for free for 4 years. Like I said, it's not my car and I really don't need one. My brother lives across town a good 45 minutes away. I live 5 minutes away. My mom called me on Friday a couple of weeks ago to remind me that she had a hearing aid appointment. I reminded her that I no longer had a car. She ended up taking a cab because my brother was at work. My dad called me to ask me to come over and talk. So I walked my dog Bruno over to see them. My dad said that I had 4 years to save up to buy my own car and he wanted to know when I was going to buy one. I told him I don't need a car. I'm happy getting Walmart to deliver my groceries because I'm not like my mom and insist on inspecting every stalk of celery before it goes in my cart. Both of us live on a good bus route that takes us downtown if we need to go to the doctor or anything like that. I said I wasn't planning on buying a car. He said he hoped that I'm not expecting him to buy me a car just to run errands for them. I said I do not need a car. I work from home. My clients see me in my home. My salon is on the main floor of my house and I have a nice basement suite for me and Bruno. I order supplies that get delivered, I order groceries that get delivered, I ordered stuff from Amazon that gets delivered. I don't need a car or the expense of a car. I told him to get my brother to run them around since he has a car now. My dad had the decency to look embarrassed. He said that my brother took our mom for groceries once and acted like it was a huge imposition and made her cry. So they didn't want to ask him for favors. I pointed out that they could just ask for the car back, but that was also a non-starter. I said that I would not be getting a car, but that if he wants I will split the cost of a car share membership. That way I can take a bus to the nearest car and use it for a few hours when they need a ride. He agreed, but he thinks I should pay the whole thing. I reiterated that I do not need a car. And that if he keeps it up I won't even split the cost with him. He thinks I'm being irate and childish because I had an almost new car for free for 4 years. I just roll my eyes now. Edit. I changed a word because my father didn't use it, he just implied it. Also, I stopped paying the insurance on the car, which is still registered to my dad. The registration is paid for the year already. Also, I did use the car for personal stuff sometimes. Getting together with girlfriends and going on dates. I don't like men knowing where I live before I get to know them. Stories number 5. I lost a diamond necklace my fiancé bought me and I hate myself. It was a beautiful single diamond on a gold chain. I haven't been wearing it because the clasp needed repairing. It's been in my bedside table for ages, but for some reason last time I had a clear out I decided to move it to a safe place. We're getting married soon and I wanted to wear it for our wedding day. I've turned every single place that could be considered a safe place in our house upside down. It's not fucking here. I have a horrible feeling the box has somehow ended up in the trash with the necklace in it. I hate myself so much and I hate the lifetime of shit like this that is ADHD. I need a hug. Update. Sorry I haven't responded to your comments. I was super down yesterday so took some time away from my phone, was not expecting to come back to over 100 comments. You are all extremely kind and I feel comforted knowing it's not just me who's had things like this happen. A few prayers to Saint Anthony have been said. I think it is really gone. I have a horrible feeling that I mistakenly put a bag which had the box in the trash when I was doing a clear out. I can only take this as a learning experience. As I'm sure my fiancé will, to never buy me small precious objects again. Update. I had loads of lovely and reassuring comments giving advice on how to find it, telling me that it would show up and that even if I didn't, I wasn't a bad person for this happening. Anyway, I'm getting married on Friday and I found it today. It was hidden in a box behind a picture frame propped up on my windowsill. I had clearly thought that was a safe place to put it, but God knows why I'd thought I'd be able to find it again. The irony is, the only reason I found it was because I was hunting around for a folder of photos that I now can't find anywhere, which I'd wanted to use for some last-minute wedding crafts. But I DGAF about them now. I cannot believe that it showed up at all, let alone in time for me to actually wear it on my wedding day. Edit. Wow, thank you so much for the well wishes everyone. Ah, what a supportive community this is. Please be assured the necklace is now fixed and safely packed ready for the big day and is doing straight back with the rest of my jewelry as soon as we get home. where it should be have been all along. Also, I did find the photo album in the end, and surprisingly, it wasn't in the place where I thought the necklace might be. It was, however, in a place that I had already looked a couple of times. Oh dearie me. Stories number 6. Aita for not defending my brother to my husband after my brother threatened his business. I, 32F, feel stuck between my husband, 34M, and my family, and I don't know if I handled this the right way. My brother, 30s, has always been the golden child in my mom's eyes. He has several kids but barely parents them. My mom, 60s, watches his children constantly while he sleeps, plays video games, or just disappears. Anytime someone brings up how unfair this is, she makes excuses like, he's just tired, or, he's doing his best. He rarely shows up to help, and everyone is expected to tiptoe around it. Recently things got worse. My husband owns his own business and works hard to provide for our family. After a dumb disagreement with my brother actually threatened my husband's business. Like straight up said he'd mess with it. Not even in a joking way. Then, he demanded my husband return the furniture we had bought and given him. This was stuff we purchased to help him when he was going through a tough time. It wasn't a loan. It was a gift. But suddenly he was acting like we owed him something. So yeah, my husband got mad. He made a comment about how my brother doesn't do anything, never helps with his own kids, and how my mom constantly enables him. It was honest. Maybe a little harsh, but not inaccurate. I didn't say anything. I didn't defend my brother because honestly, my husband was right. I've felt that way for years but always kept quiet to avoid drama. Later, my mom pulled me aside and told me I should have stood up for my brother. She said I let my husband disrespect family and accused me of changing since I got married. She made me feel like I betrayed them by not taking my brother's side. Now I feel completely torn. My husband is working hard, doing his part, and constantly getting disrespected. But my mom acts like I should cover for my brother no matter what. So, Aita for not defending my brother when my husband called him out. Edit, seeing a lot of people thinking I didn't defend my husband, I left that part out. BC I didn't need judgment on if I was TA for doing that. My family and I haven't spoke since this happened, and I definitely had a screaming match with my mother after this happened. Stories number 7. My parents refused to tell my grandparents about my brother's death. It's been 2 years. My brother committed suicide May 20th, 2023. When I was on my way to my brother's funeral, my grandma sent me a text message wishing me and him a great holiday and nearly broke down. I asked my father, "Did you not tell them yet?" He said no. I said, "When will you tell them?" They're in their mid. He said soon. Soon became 1 month, soon became 3 months, and then it's been 2 years. I didn't know what to do because I did not want to tell a lie like them. But I also did not want to be the one to tell the truth. My grandparents are in their mid-70s and flew from a country to the US a little over 2 years ago, and my grandma was able to fly about a month ago. The problem starts when the lie starts more, and then it becomes bigger and bigger. It started escalating, pretending that he moved to Japan and cut off old contacts, and then the worst part of all for me is that they included me in the lie and made up stories about me. My father claims to my grandma that me and my brother haven't spoken to them. My brother claims that we haven't spoken to him either. I have visited my parents for last 2 years about 4 times and have been in regular contact, even though I was no contact with my father and my older brother before my brother's death. They pretend I am not there to my grandparents when I'm there. This is extremely painful for me, and the realization that my grandma would pass away. I don't know when, but when she does, will she think that I turn my brother against the whole family? Will she think that I'm mean? I don't know, and I'm not really sure what to do. My significant other grew tired of seeing me in so much pain and is trying to work on an actual solution. A few days ago he gave my parents an ultimatum of telling them by the end of the week or he will, which I fully support, but they claim that my grandparents' doctors claim that we shouldn't tell them and it's very dangerous, but I don't know if I should believe them because, well, they lie. They refuse to tell the truth to my grandparents or my cousins. My uncle knows, and that's the only brother. I come from a family that hides the truth and sweeps big things under the carpets. My parents were not very good parents. My brother was only 18. I'm honestly heartbroken and never stated, and I don't know what to do and how to proceed from here. This is very complicated, and if you have any advice or any question I would be happy to answer. I just need support right now. Stories number 8. Aita for telling my new work colleague that she has no right to control our office habit. I 35M have been working in this office for 3Y. We recently hired a new girl 25F and she sits diagonally in front of me so I can see her at my desk and vice versa. We are around 1M apart. She has been working for 3 weeks and has been trying to control our office habit based on her liking. Here are the issues that has been happening and what triggered me to do what I did. I have an unhealthy eating habit and snacking a lot during work. She mentioned twice, jokingly, said how I tempted her for eating cakes and how can I stay skinny even though I eat like pigs. I offered her some, she refused, saying she's trying to lose weight. Fine, I stopped snacking on my desk, but my other colleagues and I still have lunch at desk when we are quite busy. Then by the end of the first week, she reported to HR and say people should not have lunch or eat at desk because it can be unhygienic and the crumbs might fell into keyboard etc. and attract bugs. She also mentioned how she was annoyed by me eating ice cream, cakes, bread etc. during work hours and it disturbed her because she's trying hard to lose weight. So HR sent us all emails and now everyone in the office, everyone can no longer eat anything on our desk. 2. On her second day, she complained that the girl sits next to her, Jane, was using a very strong perfume and the scent nauseated her. Jane did wear strong perfume indeed but it wasn't that horrible. All of us could tolerate Jane and suddenly because this new girl couldn't tolerate her and Jane was the one that has to change. 3. Between our team, 6 of us collect $10 weekly to buy lottery. One of the guy in our team is Muslim and he doesn't gamble, so he never participated but yet he never discouraged or criticized us. We offered this girl to join us and she criticized us about how gambling is bad and say it's very unprofessional to be collecting money to gamble in office environment. She actually brought this to HR, arguing the harm and risk and if we happened to win millions of dollars and did massive exodus, it would be harmful for the company. Luckily HR didn't do anything about it. 4. The Muslim guy prays twice a day in our stationery room. Unfortunately we don't have praying room in the office. He has got his praying mat and some other stuff in our stationery room and it has been there since I start working. She suggested him to move it somewhere as he shouldn't put personal belongings in a common area. She told the other girl in our team that the old mat was not pleasant to look at. Okay. What happened today? Our desk's layout is shaped like L and my desk is next to a glass window. In our team, there are 7 people executing her, and all of us are sun hater. We always pull down the shade and especially the guys sitting on the other corner. They said if the window is opened, the sun would glare on their computer screen in the afternoon and making them can't see their screen very well. This girl has been complaining how our corner is too dark and gives bad vibes and she needs to have the shades opened up. She mentioned how the sun will makes people happier and increase productivity. I couldn't stand her anymore so I stood up from my desk and say, I didn't yell, look, insert her name, you have been here for less than a month but you keep telling us what to do. We have been changing our habit to accommodate you but then you keep pushing things. You can't keep telling us what to do. I think the best thing is for you to move to sit where the HR people sits because it's always bright there and you are closer with them than to us anyway. She then said I hate women and I'm bullying her and she is telling our manager and HR about this. Am I the AH here? Did I bully her? Is it acceptable for new hire to tell older colleagues to do these things? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I would weaponize her criticism of the prayer mat as discrimination and get HR to lubricate the catapult. Reply. I did mention this to the Muslim guy, but he's just chill and he doesn't care. Downvoted commenter, completely agree with the new girl except for NR4. Eat away from your desk, gamble in your own time, avoid strong perfumes. These are standard office rules in most places. NR4 is ethically dodgy. A workplace should make reasonable adjustments to accommodate faith practice. Reply, okay, fair point. We collect the money during our break on Wednesday and buy them at a convenience store downstairs. The lottery draw happens every Thursday night, so it doesn't interfere with our work at all. The Muslim guy never complains or asks for a prayer room. He's the only person who prays in the whole office, so I guess nobody ever raised this issue. Commenter 2, NTA I would never normally suggest this, but since she went there first, go to HR and report that she called you a pig. That's the one thing here that could get her in trouble, because technically that was bullying. Otherwise, good luck. She sounds horrible. Reply, nah I can't do that Jane actually started that first. She always say I eat like a pig. Jane and I are actually good friends. I don't want her to get an opportunity to drag Jane down. But thanks though. Commenter 3, just imagining being trapped in a room for 8 hours every day and expected to concentrate and work, while having to listen to people eat right next to me fills me with so much rage and dread. IDGAF if you're busy, go eat in the kitchen and then come back. A short break won't kill you FFS. Reply, well all of us eat in our desk, we have been doing it for years. She actually never complained about noise. She complained that I eat when she cannot eat because she's trying to lose weight. And she doesn't like people to eat in their desks because she thinks it's unhygienic. Anyway, HR has spoken. Update 1. I was just talking about this with my colleague who worked downstairs in storage room. I don't often go there, but this new girl has to go there every day as part of her job, and he told me a story. In my company, we hire a guy with Down syndrome to do some restocking, let's call him Bob. Apparently a couple of days ago, an older lady who worked in the kitchen was wearing a Pikachu apron. When Bob saw the kitchen lady, he yelled, Pikachu, then ran and touched the apron, so he would have accidentally touched her breast too. According to my colleague, the older lady just laughed and didn't make much of a fuss. The new girl witnessed this and say Bob has sexually harassed the old lady and she would report him to HR, lol. She complained that Bob's behavior is very inappropriate and unsafe. Update 2. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up, I'm still getting so many messages and comments. By the way, I use AI this time to correct my grammatical mistakes. I'm not a native English speaker, and now I understand that it's not appropriate to use the word girl when referring to a 25-year-old woman. I didn't realize this before. I showed this post to 2 of my colleagues, and they encouraged me, and I also felt it was necessary to clarify a few things to be fair and to respond to some of your questions and comments. She actually complained about a lot of other things that I didn't mention earlier, mostly because I didn't think they were very interesting, and honestly, a few of them even benefited us. Okay, so apparently wearing perfume at the workplace is not allowed. Got it. I guess Jane's just been lucky that no one's ever complained before. Her comment about the Muslim guy's prayer mat was more about the way it was positioned in the storage room. Everything else is neatly arranged in wooden cupboards, but in one corner, there's a small table with the prayer mat and some religious items. She felt it looked out of place and thought personal items shouldn't be in public/shared areas. That said, the prayer mat has been there since I started, and no one in the office has raised an issue about it for the past 3 years. About the skinny, or eats like a pig, comments, I'm totally fine with it. It's just a part of our internal banter, and I'm the only person who get body shamed, if you want to call it that way, and I do allow people to do so. We don't comment on other people's bodies or eating habits, and no one is being body shamed. There was no HR policy that says we can't eat at our desks, and nobody has complained about it until now. Everyone does it even in other teams like IT. The new hires issue doesn't seem to be about allergies or food smells. Her main complaint was she's trying to lose weight and doesn't like watching people eat. She never brought up concerns about computer damage or bugs until she took it to HR. Yes, she's currently on a 6-month probation period. This is not her first job but her second job. Apparently worked on that company for 2 years. The first job was in a different city, and she praises that company a lot. I didn't mention this earlier because it kind of worked out in my favor, but one of my colleagues asked me to include it. On her second day, she asked our manager to move a cabinet closer to her desk. That cabinet used to be on the other side of the room, and I had to walk over every time I needed to use it. So now it's more convenient for me. But of course, the people who used to sit near it, including the colleagues who asked me to mention this, are pretty annoyed, since they use it just as much as she does. She never mentioned about mobility issue or anything like that. She just wants the cabinet to be close to her. Funnily, our manager complies and get the cabinet moved. She complained about how the IT guy who sits behind her has got a really loud ringtone. I personally too find it a bit annoying, but he doesn't often receive phone calls and it wasn't too bothersome for us. She complained how one of our colleagues was putting on headphones when working and she dislikes it when she has to tap on his shoulder when he needs to talk to him. She literally told him, "Do you mind not putting headphones while we work, because I don't want to be keep tapping your shoulders every time I need to talk to you and it is disrespectful towards the others," or something along the line. We usually just send a message on MS Teams when we want to talk to him and he's on headphones. He suggested her the same, but she said she doesn't want to. She complained about one Filipino woman, I almost typed girl again here lol, who brought a smelly lunch to work. Yes, I kind of agree with this complaint. To be fair, the Filipino woman actually didn't do this very often and she usually have late lunch around 2 p.m. after people finished their lunch. Few of my colleagues and I also dislike it, but we thought nobody is perfect, and since she doesn't bring that food often, we just put up with it. Also, my colleague told me he heard how she criticized few of our Asian colleagues for eating rice with spoon instead with fork. Why does this bother her? She complained about our kitchen bin does not have lid. It doesn't bother us, but we can see her point. She complained how we should have coffee machine. Okay, this one would be great. She allegedly reported a female colleague for wearing stilettos to the office, calling it inappropriate work attire. She also apparently reported the kitchen lady for wearing a Pikachu apron, saying it was unprofessional. LOL. Bob has Down syndrome, or some sort of intellectual disability. I don't think he was malicious or intentionally being inappropriate. He probably doesn't have the capacity to think that it is not okay to touch other people. He didn't touch our new hire though. She just witnessed him touching another woman and immediately flagged him as a potential sexual harasser. One of my colleagues genuinely thinks she might be having some mental health issues. Clearly, people commenting here are from different parts of the world and come from various cultural backgrounds. It's interesting to see how some things are totally normal in one place but not okay in another. For instance, we've been eating at our desks for years, but apparently according to some of you, that's a no-no in some workplaces. Welp, sadly, It's not okay for us anymore either. Now genuine question here. Excluding the perfume thing, would you complain this much within 3 weeks of your initial employment? I personally think we should just put up with some little things sometimes. Life is not perfect, let alone office. Thanks again for all your input, and yeah, definitely going to HR on Monday. Update 3. TLDR, she resigned before HR had a chance to fire her. Sorry, haven't been able to update the post earlier due to personal reason. As per most of the suggestions here, I decided to report her to HR with my colleagues in our team. So on Monday morning, few of my colleagues and I had a discussion regarding this new hire behavior, and we decided to talk to our line manager first before HR. However, our manager couldn't come to work that day, legit reason. The new hire also didn't come to work, she called in sick. We then changed our plan and decided to go to HR straight away. One of the IT guy joined us too, as our new hire had harassed him with a lot of unnecessary IT requests and demanded him to make a lot of changes in our IT system, so we offered him to join us to report her to HR. He suggested that rather than complaining about how she's annoyed everyone with her complaints, we should pretend to be concerned about her struggle to adjust to our environment and get HR to talk to her because we wanted her to have a good experience working with us. So few of us then had a meeting with HR, and guess what? HR people were also annoyed by her, lol. They didn't say it directly but subtly mentioned that she had been lodging a lot of unnecessary complaints. We also suggested that she might need to see a psychologist, as she might be having some sort of internal personal crisis, aka crazy, that lead her to make all of these complaints. The IT guy asked if she showed any signs of these behavior when HR interviewed her, and they said she asked few detailed questions about the work culture here and also complained about some stuff, parking etc., but they didn't really think much at that time, and she had glowing reviews from her references, probably because they want to get rid of her, lol. The HR team said that they will discuss this matter and HR manager will have 1:1 meeting with her the next time she shows up. However, that never happened because she sent her resignation letter the following day, along with a very long list of complaints and things she wanted us to change. The most ridiculous thing is she actually sent the same email to the big boss, complaining our workplace to be unsafe, unhygienic, non-inclusive, misogynist, backwards and radiating bad vibes. The HR lady who told us this found it strange that she didn't use the word toxic. One thing the HR found amusing was she mentioned how our workplace should provide a lot of free stuff such as bottled beverages, fruits, snacks, espresso coffee machine, dining vouchers, feminine hygiene products, petrol voucher, etc. Stories number 9. Aita for skipping my brother's wedding because I wasn't invited to the engagement party. I, 28M, have a twin brother. Growing up, we were inseparable, and until recently I thought we were still very close. I was always more of a shy nerd and he was an extrovert that played sports throughout our childhood and high school, but we spent almost all of our time together, by choice. We went our separate ways when college came. He stayed local in Arizona and I went to college in Portland. When I graduated, I stayed there because I fell in love with the city, my friends are here, my professional networks from internships were here, etc. But I always flew back home for holidays, events, birthdays, etc. My brother announced on Instagram that he and his girlfriend of 3 years got engaged. I was incredibly happy for him and texted him congrats. He mentioned they were planning to have an engagement party in 6 to 8 weeks and I told him to let me know so I can book a flight to come celebrate. I was never told a date. If I brought it up with him or anyone in my family, they'd change the subject or say it's still being planned and confirmed. After a few weeks I texted my brother to ask about the date because it must be getting close and I don't want to pay for a last-minute flight. No response. I asked my mom for details and she said, it's not really an engagement party, just a small dinner with family. There's no need to come down for it. I eventually found out that it was, in fact, a big party. They rented out an entire restaurant for 4 hours and there were about 80 guests, family, friends, cousins, everyone. Everyone was told I couldn't make it. My aunt, who was like a second mother to me, texted me that she was very disappointed I couldn't make time to join and I replied that I would have happily come, but I was not invited. Word spread quickly about my snub and my parents and brother tried to say it was just a misunderstanding. That was almost over a year ago. Since then I've tried to get to the bottom of why I wasn't invited. Over the course of months it went from, it was just meant to be a small gathering, to, I don't know what happened, there must have been a miscommunication, to, it's just a party. It's no big deal. I asked my brother if he was mad at me, I thought maybe his fiancée didn't like me. Even if she or he didn't want me there, why were my parents okay with this? This really wasn't like them. Christmas and Easter was awkward as hell because no one but me wanted to address the elephant in the room and any conversation about anything was like small talk with strangers. When I visited in May for my sister's birthday, I left early after my sister said, "You moved so far away. It's like you're not really family anymore. You make everything feel so weird now." 9 months ago I got the save the date announcement and 6 months ago I got the invitation to the wedding. I wasn't asked to be in the wedding party, which is fine and wasn't surprising at the point. My sister and younger brother were asked to be in the wedding party, so another snub. I also didn't get a +1 for my girlfriend I've been seeing for almost a year and a half. My sister, however, got a +1 for her FWB, so I decided I wasn't welcome and I was probably only invited for optics and to play happy family. I didn't RSVP no since I knew that would cause a shitshow, I just didn't go. The wedding was this past weekend. No one contacted me about missing the rehearsal dinner, so I guess even if I did go, I wasn't invited to that either or expected to be there. I started getting calls and texts about an hour before the ceremony asking where I was, if my flight was delayed, how far along I will be, etc., and I ignored them. They stopped for a while during the ceremony but started up again right after. I finally picked up my mom's call and she screamed, "Where the hell are you?" I replied, "In Portland, where you all prefer me to be." She said, "This is your brother's wedding, how could you embarrass us?" I answered, "It's just a party. It's no big deal, right?" It was probably the first time in my life my mother was speechless. After a few seconds of silence, I said, "Tell everyone I said hi," and I hung up. Now I'm getting calls and texts from everyone saying I was being petty and ruined the day. So am I the AH here? I feel like I'm just matching their energy and dropping the rope. Stories number 10. You owe it to your sister, who's married, and niece. I called my father this morning to see how they were all doing. Before he said good morning, he asked what the FUCK is, a dorm shower, and why are my in-laws asking for money and gifts. Background: my husband, children, adult teens now, and I went no contact with my husband's entire immediate family and most extended relatives since 2016. That's 9+ years of not talking to, contacting, or having any type of relationship or interactions. We gave them over 20 years of chances and boundaries and consequences, that's to say it wasn't a rash decision that was made selfishly or thoughtlessly. Through the years they send us, in the actual USPS mail because they're blocked everywhere else, requests for gifts. You see, they like to create registries, like you would for a bridal or baby shower, and fill them with obscenely priced items for simple things like birthdays, Christmas, graduation, anniversaries, and every little I farted and therefore I deserve an expensive gift event. On to last week into today. I called my husband's aunt to catch up, she's the only one we're still in contact with, and she gave me a heads up that my in-laws were trying to get her to pay, they used the term donate, over $100,000, not a typo, for the golden granddaughter's dorm fees because we're family and we need to stick together and do our part, when the lady who is living a modest life and on Social Security said absolutely not. They then sent her an invitation, via text, to the dorm shower and husband's aunt said it was beyond ridiculous, not to mention the request for straight-up cash when she graduated. In the meanwhile I'm getting texts and calls from old acquaintances and childhood friends, we all grew up in the same town and in-laws still live there but we've moved about 4 hours away, saying that my in-laws are harassing them and trying to get a hold of our information, because we changed our cell numbers and blocked them everywhere we digitally could. Last week in the mail I received an actual printed invite along with registry information, not one place, but 3 separate stores, and because we were curious my whole family found it comical, took a peek. The cheapest thing on there was a pack of washcloths in the $60 range, followed by a power strip at $120, and the prices went up from there including items in the $2,000 range. They even had commercial type appliances which you can't even take use in a dorm room. So, why are they even on there? Then the phone calls started rolling in, which were sent to voicemail, from phone numbers we aren't familiar with. MIL ended up leaving a message. Husband's name, this is your mom. Niece's name, is going away for college and we need you to contribute $100,000 for her dorm. We also sent you, apparently the rest of us no longer exist, an invitation to her dorm shower and a picture from her graduation, which had requests for straight-up money without even hosting a party. Don't disappoint us because you owe it to your niece and sister. First of all, no to the fuckity and no. Second, niece's parents make more than $500,000 a year, they both work for the state, love to brag, and their salaries are posted, found that out from aunt. So shouldn't they easily be able to afford their child's dorm necessities? Third, my husband and I have our own 2 children in university. One going into sophomore year and one going into junior year, and we never made any grand announcements much less requests for money. They also chose to stay local in order to save money. Fourth, WTF are you trying to get money and gifts out of my parents and others' elderly relatives? Aren't there laws against swindling senior citizens? My husband dropped everything into the shredder and I erased the voicemail with full intent of remaining and maintaining no contact. In the last 2 hours, I've gotten 6 calls from numbers I don't know but area codes that are from their area with nobody leaving any messages. WTF. Just when you think you're out they try and pull you back into their fuckery. So fucking tired, and the nerve to do that. They didn't even bother asking about their biological grandchildren that they claim to love with all their hearts. TLDR, in-laws suck from top to bottom, inside and out, and all I want is for them to stop. Stories number 11. Should I confront my fiancé about name-calling my son? My fiancé often plays and jokes around with my 6-year-old. It's usually all laughs and giggles, calling each other cute, silly names like banana, chicken nugget, and blueberry muffin, to name a few. But lately my fiancé has started calling my son Nimrod, and my son seems pretty bothered by it, coming up to me and telling me to deal with him, my fiancé, when he calls him that. In a previous post, I asked what that means and got a few answers regarding what it meant. I did my own research as well. I concluded that in the Bible, it was a skillful hunter, but in today's society, it basically means someone who is foolish or inept. Knowing this, and not knowing in what context he means it in, it bothers me as well. My son is autistic, very high functioning, still a handful nonetheless, but I don't ever want my partner to see or feel that way about my son in terms of calling him a Nimrod. So should I confront my fiancé about his name calling my son? Update: I confronted my fiancé for name calling my son. I asked my son for confirmation how he felt about my fiancé calling him Nimrod, and he says he doesn't like it, it bothers him, and he feels that my fiancé is being mean. I told him not to worry, I would talk to him about it. Well, I wanted to wait until my son was in bed, but my son spoke up and said to my fiancé, "Mommy needs to speak to you. You keep calling me Nimrod and it's not fair." He seemed to not hear him, just scrolling on his phone. I asked, "Did you hear him?" He said, "Yeah, something about Nimrod, but I didn't call him that." Me, "Yeah, but you've been calling him that, fiancé, but I didn't call him that recently." Me, "Okay, but in general, you've called him that and he's told you he doesn't like it and you keep calling him that." Fiancé, "But he calls me that too, so I think he's just going along with the joke." Me, "He doesn't understand the joke, he just feels you're being mean. He calls you it back because he's being mean back." Fiancé, "Okay, it's just a joke, but if he doesn't like it then I won't say it." Me, "It's not a joke anymore. He feels you're being mean. Please stop." Fiancé, "Okay, I just won't say it anymore. Please bear in mind that the entire time we are having this conversation, he is on his phone scrolling through social media and seems very dismissive, like he's just trying to end the conversation. I'm over this guy at this point. WTF. Trying my absolute hardest to become independent and move on with my son and my life from now on. Stories number 12. Aita for financially screwing over my sister after finding out she's close with my ex and his wife. My ex-husband, currently 43M, and I, 43F, were college sweethearts. For me, life felt perfect. I trusted him completely. That's why it was so shocking when I found out he was in love with his much younger colleague. She was around 24 at the time. I won't get into the details of how I found out, but the affair was well known at his workplace. When I confronted him, all he said was, "I'm sorry." I tried really hard not to fall for her. He didn't seem sorry at all. It felt like he wanted me to leave him. So I did. That was 6 years ago. Our son was 4 then, and it was the worst time of my life. I honestly don't know how I got through it. And because I was desperate, I wanted him to fight for me, to fight for our family. But he didn't. He was quick to sign the divorce papers and didn't even fight for custody. It was as if he had started a new life and completely erased the old one. It took years of therapy to feel normal again, to stop checking that woman's social media and comparing myself to her. The fact that she's very pretty and charming didn't help. His family loved her. And as disgusting as it sounds, one of our common friends even said it out loud, "I don't support cheating, but I mean, look at her," when I told her about the cheating. I guess that's what everyone was thinking, this one was just stupid enough to voice it out. So I had to cut off that group of friends too. They got married 3 years ago and now have a daughter. A picture-perfect little family. The current arrangement is that our son stays with my ex on weekends and holidays, which works fine for the most part. Last week, I found out my sister, 28F, has been in touch with my ex all these years. That would have been forgivable, since they were close when we were married and she saw him as a brother. But she's actually best friends with his new wife. And she kept it from me for 6 years. I only found out because she left her phone at my house, and I saw several texts from the wife. When I asked her about it, she just brushed it off and said it wasn't a big deal. I told her she can do what she wants, but I will be cutting her off completely. I was helping her pay her college loans, lol. And going no contact. She called me unreasonable and said I'm being petty and unable to move on from something that happened a long time ago. She also said the wife is a lovely person and a good friend. She said she will be fucked, financially speaking. I told her to go fuck herself. Somehow, my parents agree with her. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, so your sister only cared to have you pay her loans. That's why she kept it a secret, and that's why you shouldn't feel bad cutting her off. She needs to ask your lovely ex and his wife to foot the bill from here on out. NTA. Reply, I know she clearly chose a side during the divorce but pretended to be on mine for the money. Commenter 2, NTA, anyone who sides with a cheater is probably a cheater themselves. Maybe your sister can ask your ex and his wife to help instead, seeing as how they are best friends. Reply, it's strange, and I honestly don't know what level of pretty privilege this is, but no one seems to care what they did. They see two attractive people and act like that justifies everything. The cheating doesn't matter because they're easy to look at. If nothing else, it made it a lot easier for me to cut a lot of people out of my life. Commenter 3, NTA, OP, honestly, I'm kinda shocked your sister hid her friendship with them from you. I mean, she's your sister. I once helped my brother hide a surprise party for his wife, but this is different. Reply, yup. 6 years, countless interactions and not a word. Commenter 4, NTA. Sooner or later one of those perfect people will cheat again and you can eat some popcorn while all their friends take sides. Reply, I don't doubt that. But honestly, this woman worships my ex. From what I've heard, she pursued him despite knowing he was married. And he didn't resist. He's a despicable human being, and so is she. Commenter 5, why the hell do your parents agree with your sister? I hope you get some therapy to deal with all the users in your life. NTA. Reply, my ex and my sister were pretty close all those years we were married. I mean, she's known him since she was a kid. So they think it's not fair for me to want her to cut him off completely. I would have been fine with that, but again, she hid this for 6 years. And being close friends with his wife is just pushing it too far. OOP responds to a comment about if her son knows what is going on. Has her ex and his wife have tried to turn the son against OOP? Reply, obviously not. Whatever our issues are, that's still his dad who he adores. I am capable of setting aside my feelings for the sake of my child. They haven't. He enjoys his time with them, and looks forward to it. I haven't thought that long into the future. He's 10 now. Maybe when he's older I'll tell him the truth. I don't know TBH. Right now he's happy with whatever arrangement we have. Update. This is my first and last update. So I spoke to my sister again. She apologized for reacting that way the last time. Also for keeping it from me all these years. She said she didn't tell me because she knew I would ask her to choose, and she didn't want to be in that position. She said she never wanted to hurt me, but at the same time, she couldn't bring herself to walk away from the people who had been there for her. She said it never felt fair to cut him off completely. Growing up, our parents were barely around. They were always busy with work. And for a long time, it was just me and my ex who were actually present in her life. He was like family to her. Then she brought up the accident she was in around 5 years ago. I knew about it, of course. She had multiple fractures, hematomas, and internal bruising. She was in the hospital for a while and bedridden for weeks. I always assumed our parents were taking care of her. I never asked, and I never really checked in. I was too busy trying to manage a recent divorce, a small child, a career, and whatever was left of my mental health. She said it was my ex's wife who stepped up. She took her to every appointment, picked up prescriptions, brought food, helped her move around, stayed with her when she couldn't be alone. And at one point she said, I know it hurts you, but she was there. He was there. You weren't. You didn't even come to the hospital. I thought I was gonna die, and you didn't even show up. She cried while telling me all this. She said she still wants a relationship with me, but she's not going to cut them off. She also said she's fine with me not helping her with the loans anymore. She's planning to get a part-time job and figure it out herself. She told my ex and the wife about our conversation. Apparently they offered to help her financially, but she turned it down too. I just listened. Then I told her she's free to do whatever she wants. And so am I. And to never call me again. So that's where we are. Relevant comments. Downvoted commenter. Hahaha, you didn't even ask if your sister was dead. With friends like you, who needs anemones? Reply, I had a 5-year-old, a full-time job, and a brain that was barely holding it together. I texted her, but no, I didn't go to the hospital. I assumed our parents were taking care of her. I was wrong. I'm not defending it. Commenter 1, nothing in her explanation, excuses, addresses why she would befriend the woman your ex cheated with before her accident. Reply, she said they weren't friends before the accident. She was cordial to her. They only became close after the accident. Commenter 2, how did they even know she was in the hospital unless she reached out to them first? You said you texted her. Did she ask you for help? I agree with everyone here saying you need to consider what narrative your son is being told. These people are master manipulators who have essentially now isolated you from your friends and family. You need to fight for every other major holiday with your son so he has memories of special times with you too. Reply, the hospital did contact me and my parents first. But I wasn't in a position to drop everything and take care of her. I don't know what happened after that. I assumed my parents would take care of it. Commenter 3, I commented "nta" on the first post. And I still think "nta." But the hospital info wasn't in the first post. I still think taking the money and hiding her relationship was purposely deceptive, and she is a dishonest and manipulating person. You don't owe her financial subsidiation, but any relationship of substance obligates people to check on hospitalized people. Especially if they have bed rest after being released. No matter what's going on in your own life. It's all part of that love thing where we care about people because we love them. So, therefore, love causes us to be concerned and interested in the problems of those that we love. Even with all you had going on, your lack of interest in your sister's hospitalization implies you aren't really that close. So it doesn't seem as if there is a relationship to salvage. Commenter 4, BS. She's been feeding X and his mistress info about you for years. She has betrayed you on multiple levels for years. Example, she ran right to them to tell them you cut her off etc. Told them word for word with her twist your whole exchange. She's also clearly a sympathy junkie and milks everyone for money/meals/rides/support etc. She only kept quiet to keep your money flowing. My prediction, now the information highway has dried up, your ex and his mistress /partner loses interest in sis real fast. His mistress partner will especially be over sis, if your ex starts giving sis money when the part-time job doesn't happen. You watch it was fun for the three of them watching you spend your money on sis knowing you were being played, but mistress won't think it's funny watching her AP start supporting unemployed sis now the betrayal is out in the open. My question is, did your son know about sis being tight with them and did they ask him to lie for them? Stories number 13. My mom invited my ex-fiancé to family dinner and acted like we never broke up. Am I overreacting? So this happened last night and I'm still not even sure how to process it. I, 29F, was engaged to Eric, 30M, up until 5 months ago. We were together for 4 years, engaged for 1. We broke up after I found out he was texting his coworker some extremely inappropriate stuff like not technically cheating, but definitely betrayal territory. I ended things, returned the ring, blocked him on everything, and honestly, I've been doing a lot better since. Anyway, my mom, 60F, always really liked Eric. Like, too much. I tried to be gentle when I told her why we broke up, but she kept making excuses for him. Men are visual creatures, he didn't do anything physical, etc. I told her I didn't want to talk about him anymore and she seemed to respect that. Until last night, she invited me to a casual dinner at her house, said it would be just me, her, and my younger brother. When I show up, guess who's already there, sitting at the table like we're on an episode of This Is Your Life? Yep. Eric. I froze in the doorway. My mom acted like it was no big deal. Oh, look who stopped by. Isn't this nice? Eric had the audacity to smile and say, "Hey stranger." I turned around and left without even taking off my shoes. I texted her later saying what she did was completely out of line and honestly felt manipulative. She said I was being dramatic and that she just wanted to help us find closure. Closure? I already had closure. I left him. I'm healing. She told me I embarrassed her in front of a guest. I haven't responded since then, and now my brother is texting me saying mom's upset and I should have just stuck it out for one meal. So Reddit, am I overreacting? Or is this just totally nuts? Stories number 14. To fool by telling my girlfriend I'm not ready to take care of her kid. I, 22M, have been dating my girlfriend, 27F, for a little over 4 months. She has a 5-year-old son from a previous relationship. I knew that from the beginning, and I never pretended like it was a problem. I liked her a lot, still do, and I figured I'd just take things slow and see how it goes. For the first few months, we mostly spent time alone. I met her son briefly once, just a quick hello when I dropped her off, but she never pushed me to be involved, which I appreciated. She said she wanted to wait and see if the relationship was going somewhere before introducing me more seriously into his life. Well, last week she brought it up again. She said she thinks we're getting serious, and she wanted to talk about what kind of role I might want to have in her son's life, long term. I didn't know how to respond. So I just told her the truth, I really like you, but I'm not sure I'm ready to take care of a kid, not right now. She went quiet. For a few seconds, she just stared at me. And then she got angry. Not loud, not dramatic, just quietly furious. She said, "Then what are we even doing here?" I tried to explain that I wasn't saying I'd never be ready, just that I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to pretend I was. I told her I wasn't trying to hurt her, I just wanted to be honest. She said something like, "If you date me, you date both of us. That's the deal. I don't have time for, maybe someday. My son deserves someone who's all in." After that, she left. We haven't talked since. I texted her the next day and apologized if I handled it badly. I said I respect her and her kid and I didn't mean to sound selfish. But she didn't respond. I get why she's upset. I didn't think it would come out like that, but maybe deep down I'm not ready for that responsibility. I just didn't expect it to end like this. TLDR told my older girlfriend that I'm not sure I'm ready to help take care of her child. She got really upset and walked out. Now I'm not sure if we're still together. Stories number 15. My husband, M37, wants me, F24, to eat him out. I don't know what to do. Hi Reddit, this is a throwaway account, because my husband is a huge Redditor and surfs through all new posts each day. So me, F24, and my husband, M37, have been together for 7 years and married for 5. We've never had trouble keeping things exciting in the bedroom, but lately I've noticed he's been more distant and hesitant anytime I've tried to initiate sex. These last 6 months we've only slept together 4 times, while we used to have sex at least 3 times a week. 2 days ago I tried to make things spicy by buying new lingerie, red, his favorite color. I cooked a romantic dinner and set up candles. When he got home he said he was tired and basically dismissed me. I tried to talk to him about it and that's when he told me he would like to try new things, one of them being me eating out his shoal. He said he feels it's not working out between us and that I'm too vanilla for him. I was shocked, but I told him I'd think about it. I honestly don't know what to do and I really don't want to do it, but I'm scared that he'll leave me. I really love him and he's been my main support system as I'm not close with my family, other than this things have been great so far. I really don't want to lose him. Can anyone help me? Any advice is appreciated. Hey Reddit, I want to thank everyone for their nice comments and support. First, I'd just like to clear up that when me and my husband met, I was about to turn 18, not 17. After some deep thought, I talked to my husband again and tried to understand where he was coming from. He started arguing, saying he'd found the original post and was upset with me for posting about our personal life. After that we didn't speak to each other and he slept on the couch. The next morning I decided to go stay at my friend's apartment to clear my head. She knew about the situation before I came over and told me I could stay as long as I wanted. I've been here about 2 weeks now, and my husband has tried to reach out to me, but I've been ignoring him. I realize now our relationship was a bit weird. He constantly joked about him having a thing for younger women, but at the time I just didn't think much of it. Thinking about it now, I wouldn't date a 17-year-old at 24, let alone at 30. I'm seriously considering divorce as I can't imagine feeling comfortable around him ever again. He was also the reason I lost contact with my family as they didn't trust him, especially because of his age. I've thought about contacting at least my brother. We were very close before I met my husband, and I miss him a lot. Is there any way for me to reconnect with my family, and if yes, how? I'm not sure what I'll do, but for now I just need some time and space. Thanks again to everyone who commented on the original post and helped me out. Stories number 16. Aita for banning my mum's boyfriend from my life after what he did at my granddad's funeral. My mum, 56, has been dating a man, Adam, for 5 years. I'm 28F. They met online during COVID and said, "I love you," within 3 weeks, before they'd even met in person. At the time, we had just gotten out of a 20-plus year abusive home situation. Our mum didn't protect us, we got us all out. We'd encouraged her to date to stop her going back to dad, but the intensity of the relationship raised red flags. Adam is in his late 50s, never married, supposedly has a good job but nothing to show for it. I suspect he gambles. He watches every sport, every team, obsessively. He lives in England, we're in Ireland. There have always been red flags, subtle digs about my mum aging, calling her decisions our decisions but keeping his private. He makes no effort with family and isolates her. I think he's using her and possibly planning to freeload off her divorce settlement. The final straw was him watching football on his phone for 15+ minutes at my granddad's funeral. I waited a few weeks to tell my mum. When I did, he denied it. She believed him over me. Things got tense. My sister 22F and I ended up in family therapy, without him, and agreed to one last conversation with Adam. We told our mum, if it went badly, she could keep seeing him, but she had to stop trying to involve us. It was a big deal, We were anxious and triggered by having to confront a man about his behavior, given our past. The conversation was awful. He said, "We'll agree to disagree," then admitted he glanced at his phone, then finally admitted to watching the match. Still, no apology. Since then, 6 months ago, we've had no contact with him. I've told him I don't want to speak to him again. Now my mom is saying we need to fix things and come for dinner to sort it out. She gets upset when we say no. I'm exhausted. I can't control who she dates, but I won't be around him. It's stressful, triggering, and upsetting. Some people say we're being overly sensitive due to CPTSD. But honestly, we're too tolerant. We survived years of abuse. If we were fragile, we would have broken. We didn't. Now I'm getting married next year. And I'm already heartbroken because my dad won't walk me down the aisle, not because he's gone, but because of what he did to us. That's something I've had to grieve. But now it feels like another man in my mom's life is going to ruin another major moment. My graduation, birthdays, those were all made miserable by my dad. And now it feels like my wedding could be overshadowed by another man she's putting first. I just don't understand how it's unreasonable to want my wedding day to be about me, for once, not about managing someone else's boyfriend. My mom clearly thinks I'm the problem, that I'm being difficult and dramatic because of our past. And honestly, I'm starting to feel like I am the asshole. But deep down, I don't think I am. I just feel like one for standing my ground. Aita for drawing this boundary and saying I don't want to spend Christmas or my wedding with this man. Edit. My mom will definitely come to my wedding, we are actually really close and get on so well, apart from this drama, which is why it's even more hurtful. When it's not about men we have a really good relationship. It does feel more like a sister relationship. She's honestly not a bad person, she is a great mom in lots of ways, she just makes really bad decisions with men that make it look that way. My little sister has supported me and been there for me through everything, she's who will walk me down the aisle, we've been through everything together, it's only right. Red heart. Further edit. I have said to her about going no contact if she continues to force him on us and she feels this is me forcing her to break up with him and not letting her make her own decisions. Stories number 17. Aita for saying I told you so when my boyfriend got beat up by my ex. I ended things with my ex a year ago, and have been dating my boyfriend for 6 months. My ex, during this time, has refused to move on and basically has repeatedly sent me flirty texts until I blocked him, as well as hitting on me in person, blatantly in front of my boyfriend too. I've told him multiple times that I am not interested and that I love my new boyfriend, but he has persisted. This has led to my boyfriend wanting to fight him for disrespecting you and I and our relationship. I always told him that this wasn't a good idea, because violence isn't the answer, but the real reason is half that and also half because I know my ex would beat him in a fight. My ex trains in the gym a lot and also does multiple martial arts, whereas my boyfriend isn't really into fitness and is very skinny. He finally told me last week that he is going to fight my ex at a party they'll both be at that Saturday, this past Saturday. I begged him not to, and told him bluntly that he will lose and make himself look bad. He responded saying that he's a lot bigger than my ex, he's quite tall and my ex is average height, so he'll be fine. I repeatedly warned him, but he brushed it off. Lo and behold, exactly what I said happened, and he ended up losing, although he wasn't hurt too badly aside from his ego. He came to me upset and expected sympathy, but I just felt irritated and said that I had told him exactly that this would happen, and he chose not to listen. He's angry at me for being unsupportive, but I feel like I tried to warn him. Stories number 18. Aita for refusing to give my ex-stepmom money from my late father's estate and cutting her off after she and my stepsister turned his death into a cash grab and public takedown. This is messy, but I need an outside perspective. I, 27F, lost my dad quick to cancer in 2022. We had a complicated relationship, but I was his only biological child and was named the sole beneficiary in his will. He had been divorced from my ex-stepmom, we will call her Renee, for almost 10 years when he passed. Despite the divorce, she still received $20,000 from his will he made right before he died. The rest of his estate, what little was left, came to me. Here's where it gets dark. The very next day after he died, my former stepsister, Renee's daughter, took to Facebook and wrote a long, emotionally charged post accusing my dad of sexual misconduct toward her when she was younger. I was blindsided. It was a lot to process, and the timing felt intentionally public and explosive. I didn't say anything publicly because I felt it wasn't my story to address, but the situation left me conflicted. Yes, according to them, my ex-stepmom stayed with my dad after knowing he was sexually assaulting my former stepsister for years, and we should overlook that detail apparently. Context: my dad was married to this woman and the alleged misconduct happened for years before I was born. My dad cheated on Renee with my mom, but Renee stayed with him even though I was born and was a good stepmom for many years. Now 2.5 years later, while I'm 2 months postpartum, may I add, Renee reached out to me privately. Not to talk about grief or process the situation, or my newborn baby, but to ask for more money. She said she deserved a bigger cut from the estate after everything we went through. She framed it like she was doing me a favor by reaching out calmly and said that if I helped her financially, she would leave me alone. But I was wondering why she didn't get or ask for everything she wanted / though she deserved in the divorce years earlier. I told her no. I told her I was sorry for whatever trauma they experienced, but I'm not responsible for fixing it with money, especially since she got $20,000 already and they have been estranged for years. That's when she snapped. She sent me a rage-filled message accusing me of siding with an abuser, denying their pain, and being greedy. She brought my dead mother into it, claiming my mom trapped my dad with a pregnancy. She said I'd never worked a day in my life and called me the devil's spawn. She tried to rewrite history and claimed she and my dad weren't even really divorced when he died, they were, almost a decade. And she hinted she'd been advised to sue me. She made it crystal clear that our past relationship meant nothing. The fact that she said, if you help me, I'll leave you alone, made it feel transactional and gross. It wasn't about closure or healing. It was about squeezing money out of me, no matter the emotional wreckage. I eventually told her I was done. That I wasn't scared of a lawsuit. That she'd already gotten more than she was owed. And I told her not to contact me again. Now her daughter reached out saying I'm being cold and should show more compassion, especially if the abuse allegations are true. But from where I stand, Renee weaponized her daughter's trauma, whether real or exaggerated, I honestly don't know, to guilt-trip me into handing over inheritance money. It felt manipulative and cruel, so. Aita for refusing to give her any more money and cutting all ties after this. Stories number 19. Aita for telling my FIL he can't hump the floor at my house or in my presence. Crazy title and I wish it weren't true, but here we are. Unfortunately I'm asking because I'm possibly in a state of being gaslit or I actually can't take a joke and I can't see it. My FIL, late 50s, is known for being very playful, goofy some would even say. Well my MIL, late 50s, and 3 sibling in-laws, 20M and 27M 28F, married couple, came to stay with my husband and I at our home, 28F 30M, and to see our new LO, 7 months. Well, LO was put to bed and we were all in the living room area hanging out, doing stretches, just casually talking, when FIL decided it would be funny to start humping the ground out of nowhere. And unfortunately it was directly in front of me, not MIL. Mill and I looked at each other in shock while his children all laughed and chuckled. FIL made it clear that the gesture was meant for his wife despite it being directly in front of me, with eye contact, so we dropped it. The night passed, they left town, and after a few days of not being able to shake the image in my head, I decided to talk with my husband about how uncomfortable it made me along with other sexual jokes he makes about us all being married and etc. There's been this big divide now on how I'm always ruining the fun, how it was just a joke and not a sexual gesture, and how I'll always find a problem when my husband's family is in town. His family thinks this, however, when I speak with my mom, sister, cousins, and anyone on my side of the world, they see his jokes and gesture as totally inappropriate. My FIL tried to make the point that I've done TikTok dances in his home with the other sibling-in-laws and my husband and he's never felt uncomfortable because he knows they're harmless and that it's not fair for me to judge him about this versus knowing his intent, which was to just make a joke. My point is, even though I'm not on TikTok and I don't post videos, everything I've done is postable, him slow stroking the ground is not. My husband got mad at me for not seeing it as a joke and so did the other married siblings who were in the room that were raised by FIL. So Aita for saying that my FIL humping the floor in my home/presence made me uncomfortable and drawing that boundary. I genuinely would appreciate feedback because I plan to have another conversation soon and I want to know that I'm coming into the conversation grounded in reality. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Can your husband explain the joke to you and his mother? Can FIL? Cause I don't get it either. Just straight up gross. Reply. This is a good point and I'm wondering if I should actually ask to see what the response is. Commenter 2. NTA. Your in-laws are weird AF for enabling this behavior. Your husband is weird for getting upset you didn't get the joke. WTF, his father made you uncomfortable. I'd be sick to my stomach if I saw my FIL do that. And your husband's reaction is to get upset with you instead of address it with his dad. Gross, all around gross. Reply. I agree that the whole family is weird, husband included. It definitely has made me wonder if something happened in the home that makes this seem normal. Commenter 3. Why did you have a baby with someone before you examined these questions? Reply. This is my favorite question because never in a million years would I thought I needed to ask, does your dad hump floors and is this funny to you? Never. I'm just as shocked. Truthfully, what makes this even worse is that we're a very religious community. He's an elder/deacon in the church, we're all church-goers, worship leaders, musicians, all the things. So I had absolutely no reason to think this would have ever come up. Until it did. Commenter 4. In my experience, the devout Christians are some of the sickest sexual deviants, and calling them out gets you the creepy gaslighting that you're experiencing. Update. All aboard for the Hot Mess Express. Firstly, thank you to all of the responses. I genuinely appreciate the kind, blunt, informative, funny, and not so nice comments because truly I was looking for all perspectives. It felt reassuring to see that majority, not all, of you felt like it was, in fact, inappropriate/gross/weird/odd/sick, and especially having folks that aren't like me, religious, jokesters, etc., still see the behavior as not the best. This is a 24-hour update. So the reason I followed up with my FIL/MIL wasn't because my FIL never apologized, he did. Reluctantly, but he did. I followed up with them because of one particular event that happened on the first phone call when my husband, yes, although mad at me, told them that I was uncomfortable. My FIL's immediate response to my husband, and I, saying I was uncomfortable was that he, FIL, was uncomfortable with the fact that I was uncomfortable and that this all made him feel bad because it's not fair that I was uncomfortable. He apologized and truly it could have stopped right there because truly he's entitled to his feelings. But it didn't stop there. It got back to me that he was telling the other in-laws, siblings, how I couldn't have fun, I ruin the fun when they're around, he's uncomfortable because I'm looking at him like that and that it hurts because I don't know him better, etc., etc., etc. Stuff came up about the TikTok dances and how there was room for interpretation regarding them being inappropriate etc. Let me clear one thing up, imagine dances like Millie Rock, Shoot, Dougie, 2000s hip-hop. Imagine church dances that you see in African American culture, since we're religious, like shouting, praising. That. There was no twerking, jiving, or gyrating. There were maybe 6, max 8, videos and half of them were religious-oriented. Nothing seductive, fully clothed, very appropriate. And actually there hasn't been a video of me dancing nor have I danced there in maybe the last 2 to 3 years. So let's just place that there. Okay. Him feeling upset wasn't a problem, it was the taking to the in-laws and word getting back to me and me being questioned about why I can't just enjoy the moments and the jokes. It was the, why can't you be happy around them? I explained that our beliefs and values don't align to my brother-in-law, BAL, which is who came to me. But for me, this meant one thing clearly, I can't say, I'm uncomfortable, and that simply be received. All of the side talk, BAL confirmed, showed me one thing. There clearly was tension and ill things being spoken, so my husband suggested I speak with my in-laws versus immediately separating myself. Maybe there was a misunderstanding, let's just talk it out and see. How did that conversation go? As you would expect, terrible. My in-laws were incredibly irate and yelled majority of the time. The part that hurt them the most was me talking to my mother, who's also a part of the church community. Talking to her meant that I, in their words, exposed him and now she sees FIL in a different light. Their words. One part of the conversation sounded like this. FIL, how would you feel if I told folks you prostitute? Me, I would feel like that's a lie. Phil, exactly. That's how I feel. Me, except I didn't lie about anything. I just told my mom the facts and how it made me feel. MIL, well OP, doesn't feel like she lied so she doesn't understand. Me, where was the lie? I only told the facts. FIL, but OP you made me look bad. MIL, yeah OP you've now shown him in a different light and that doesn't show his character. He has a good heart. A lot of our conversation sounded like that. I'm also realizing a lot of the conversation was rooted in bullying, and that's the nice way of me saying it. Some of the comments sounded like, we can joke with all our married friends and married children about sexual conversation but we see we can't do that with you, MIL. We just can't make any jokes around you so I guess we probably need to be careful with how we talk. I don't know how I'll act around you now, MIL. What you did was bad and you shouldn't have told your family, FIL. To this point, all they know is that I talked to my mom. And what's interesting about this is that when I asked who should I have spoken to about my discomfort, the response was, well we're not saying who you can talk to but you shouldn't have told anybody about this, you could have come talk to MIL. I told them I wasn't safe to talk to MIL because of what I'm seeing in real time with the conversation we were having. Reddit readers, when I say it was a bunch of yelling, and insulting, saying don't be dumb, what you did is bad, etc., I'm not kidding. I told them, in the future, I hope the in-laws, their children's spouses, can come to them when something makes them uncomfortable and it be received. They said, aren't you being received now? And I said, no. I'm being met with screaming, insults, threats of being cut off, FIL said this, and that this is emotionally unsafe. I said that even with expressing myself, FIL is only getting angrier. He agreed. He explained that he's the adult and that I should listen and that's my problem. I shouldn't have talked to anyone, it made him look bad. He said that doesn't want to talk to me and will move differently with me. He no longer wants to come over to our home, thank the heavens. He yelled these things and when I asked him to stop yelling, he said no I'm mad. When I asked could he stop insulting, he said no maybe we don't need to talk. I said you're right, we don't if we can't respect each other. He said OP, you need to respect me. I said grab control, he said you grab control. We ended the call with him repeating leave me alone and crying very hard while yelling. I'm not kidding, now let me say this. I never raised my voice, insulted, or over-talked anyone because I've seen this with my other sister-in-law, married into the family like me. It's easy to feel provoked and get into a screaming match, but when you're cool as a cucumber emotionally, that sends them over the edge. And that's what happened. And fortunately I documented the conversation for proof. How did it end? FIL kept repeating OP, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone and I told him he's an autonomous being and that he's able to hang up the phone anytime he wants so after saying leave me alone at least 4 to 5 times, he hung up. They called my husband, who was not present for this conversation, and didn't want to be, and simply told him the conversation was rough. Or at least that's what he told me and I could tell the conversation lasted less than 10 minutes. My husband was overwhelmed with everything and honestly I think some of you were spot on. He named the joke, sexual gesture, humping the ground, as inappropriate with me privately but when he heard himself, after I reconfirmed, he said, no you, said it was inappropriate. He's done this a few times so I really do believe he sees that it wasn't appropriate, I just think he's struggling to say it because that goes against all that he's been taught and whatever else happened in that home. Lastly I'll say this. A few things that happened on the phone call with the in-laws that felt off were these. FIL named all the children-in-laws and stated that they all make these sexual jokes and he said, why is it that even though I make them the most, you pick me out of them and you feel uncomfortable? I told him I feel uncomfy when everybody does it and have spoken out about it, but the humping, took it too far and now I'm bringing it to the forefront because there is a power dynamic. He's a father, an elder, deacon, leader, grandfather, etc. not a peer. They questioned why I'm trying to make FIL look bad. And I asked why was the joke not what made him look bad? Why is it that me talking to my mother the part that makes them upset and feel as though he looks bad? I asked if their daughter dealt with this with her FIL, how would they feel? Would they want her to feel comfortable talking to them? No answer. Only, she can talk to her own MIL. They've said I've made them uncomfortable before in the past for things like, arguing with my husband in their home in their presence, and they talked to us about it at the time, years ago. I said yes and y'all told us it made you uncomfy and we resolved. Why am I not able to do the same? They responded because you're blowing this up. I asked how. They said. Because you talked to your mom. They only found that out on the phone call even though they came in with yelling and told their children, my in-laws. This is long so I'll stop here. There won't be a TLDR, because how? SMH. Nonetheless, ask all the questions, and help me make sense of something that really doesn't make sense. I will be and am being as honest as I possibly can and I recognize that this is a hot mess. But unfortunately I can't make this stuff up. I'll respond to comments. Tell me your thoughts. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Okay so you can't tell your mom, but he can tell his whole family to ridicule you. This is so unhealthy, and yes, he looks incredibly unstable. Shifting all the blame on you, and playing the victim after, I would definitely go NC, and expect my husband to defend me or I would serve him with divorce papers. Reply. Exactly. OOP on why she is being singled out. My hypothesis about why I'm being targeted is because I'm the only one who will respond to the nonsense with a boundary. Whether it's prejudice/racist jokes, especially in public or in earshot of said person of race, belittling jokes to women and the disabled, children, etc. 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 I'll continue to say that's wrong, no matter who says it. I also am not materialistic and I think that my priority for education over riches bothers them because I don't align. I'm working towards the highest degree while they've only received high school diplomas and their children bachelors. I don't talk like them, I'm not into television but instead I read books. Pretty much I stick out like a sore thumb with them. I'm different. New update. Aita for telling my husband his father has predatorial behaviors. Yikes I know well I'm sort of in a pickle about this one because my husband and I have been wrestling this issue for a little over a month now. After debates regarding everything that happened with his dad in our home he spoke with his folks. He said he cleared up what happened, not really but he talked to them and expressed that they can't joke around everyone especially if you don't know a person's history or if they'll see it as a joke, fair. After the insults, yelling, alienation, and gossiping, he talked to them and things settled on their end. Supposedly. But no one followed up with me, no apologies, no remorse, no take-backs, nothing. Just an, I've talked with them, they're old and set in their ways, this issue is over. Here's where the problem lies, this issue has truly impacted my marriage. I've been so angry with my husband for not having my back, for nor standing up, for letting them talk to me however. I've questioned his ability to speak up in the face of wrong, I've called him a coward, I've questioned whether being married into this family is even worth it. But what cooked the goose was me saying his dad had predatorial behaviors. I gave him examples like when he sees young college-aged girls on TV and calls them his GF. Or openly, in front of wife daughters still adult children, comment on other women on TV. Or when he makes the sexual jokes, gestures, etc. How his circle includes men who've been exposed for intercore crimes. I've noticed the dad has a soft spot for men with these kinds of crimes under their belt and an alarm just goes off for me. Maybe I've been enraged and spoke in anger. Maybe I spoke what I've been thinking for years. Nonetheless, my husband is beyond hurt. Silent treatment, avoiding me, only will argue, snappy, mad. So was ITAH? Or am I missing something? Stories number 20. Aita for asking my parents how long it would take them to notice if I died or would they even notice at all after they ignored 6 hours of calls about me going to the emergency room. The title actually sums up pretty much exactly what I, 16M, said to my parents. But there's so much context to go with that and I'm really sorry in advance if this is crazy long. Alright, so I'm the middle kid of 3. My older brother is 10 months older than me. My younger brother is 2 years younger. So we're 17, 16, and 14. My older and younger brother hate each other. They're always fighting and doing petty shit to each other. It drives our parents crazy and takes up a lot of attention. Or at least that's the excuse my parents use. Even before it got really bad my parents always overlooked me more than my brothers. I was an easier kid and everything, but why does that mean it's okay to ignore me? When we were younger it was smaller stuff. Like mom or dad would forget to ask me to pick out my treat at the grocery store, something each of us did whenever we went grocery shopping with our parents, and we'd circle back around to let me pick something once everything was paid for because we were normally at the checkout before my parents could listen to me say I was forgotten or it took that long for them to realize on their own. Or another example is sometimes my parents would go up to order our food and they'd forget my order and have to go back up and place it. Happened in drive-thrus too, but then it was ignoring/forgetting to help me with homework when my brothers needed help too or if they argued. Forgetting stuff they had promised me because their focus was on my brothers. Forgetting we needed to go out and buy stuff for school and that resulted in a few emails to my teachers to let them know I was going in without needed materials. It was also leaving me behind places because once my brothers started fighting more they'd race off and not check if I was there. And it was forgetting 2 of my birthdays and remembering the next day and not even apologizing for it because I was so understanding and mature and they would celebrate like it was my actual birthday. There were times in the last 2 years where they forgot they dropped me somewhere and never came to pick me up. If I was lucky my best friend was there and his parents would drop me off at home and sometimes they'd pick me up and feed me first because they'd be aware I was waiting a while to leave. Other times I had to call 5 or 6 times before they'd answer. In the past I have brought up these incidents to them and they always like we really don't mean it and we're just so overwhelmed with your brothers and we'll do better. But it feels more and more like they don't notice whether I'm around or not unless they get really tired of my brothers fighting and I end up hanging out with one of them which breaks the tension for a while. Then the other week happened. I was at my best friend's house and I had an allergic reaction to something I ate. His mom drove me to the emergency room and she was trying to call my parents. 6 hours. 6 whole hours of calls and my parents weren't at work. They were home. She tried on her phone and on mine. When her husband left work he went to my house and told my parents what was going on. It was only then and like 6 hours and 20 or 30 minutes later that they left the house and they showed up at the hospital 7 hours after I went in. I had to stay in overnight and I told my parents to go home because I was so mad and upset with them that they brought me no comfort. My best friend's mom stayed with me which wasn't really allowed but an exception was made because of how upset I was. My parents picked me up at discharge time and they were being all caring and stuff but it bothered me. Things were strained for about a week and they told me they really needed to apologize. I said yeah but it didn't mean anything and the conversation went on from there. And I brought up how I was home late by 2.5 hours and they hadn't noticed and it took my best friend's dad literally going to the house to tell them. Then my brothers were brought up and it was all just annoying. They swore that I was not the overlooked middle child and I asked them how long would it take them to notice if I died and would they even notice because it sure looked like they wouldn't. That really upset them and they asked why I'd say it and I told them I meant it. The conversation stopped then, but a few days after my dad told me it felt like I went out of my way to hurt them, and I'm usually more mature than that. Stories number 21. Aita for telling my sister-in-law her son's speech impediment might be because of the way she talks to him. Advice needed. Reposting because my posting got removed on the other subreddit. My husband's sister has 3 kids. 6, 4 and 1 year. I don't know how to explain it, but she coddles them a lot. Like she still spoon feeds the 2 younger kids and sometimes spoon feeds the older one if he doesn't want to eat. It's really weird for me, especially because my parenting style has always been encouraging independence. My own child is 2 and she eats by herself because I've never spoon-fed before. I just added that as an example of how her parenting is. She also baby talks. Really bad. For example, 6-year-old name, I gonna go store. Mama gonna go store and get you more, okay? This yucky, this big people food, you not like it. It makes me inwardly cringe because she also does this annoying baby voice to all the kids, including the 6-year-old. My mother-in-law does it too when she speaks to the kids, but I asked her to talk to my child normally. Her oldest has a speech impediment. He doesn't stutter or anything. He speaks clearly, in a baby voice. His grammar is worse than my 2-year-old's and he repeats words a lot. He speaks exactly how his mom talks to him. We were together the other night and the 6-year-old was trying to explain something to my husband and my husband just stared at him, looked at my sister and said that he couldn't understand anything the 6-year-old was saying. His sister just laughed it off and explained what he was trying to say, but my husband was concerned and brought up the fact that he's going to 1st grade and he talks like this. His sister just said he'll grow out of it and that speech therapy won't do anything. I couldn't help myself and spoke up, saying that maybe if she encouraged proper language and spoke to him in a normal voice it would help. She and mother-in-law did not like that. They got angry and told me that I'm just way too harsh of a parent and that I'm a horrible person. I left in tears and my husband says that while he agrees with me, maybe it wasn't my place to bring up. Stories number 22. I'm in love with my baby's mom, but she wants to leave. So I, 27M, met Mila, 25F, like 4 years ago at a bar. Long story short, it was a mutual friend's birthday, we were at this bar, and we had both just gotten out of long-term relationships. Hers was 5 years, mine was 4. A lot of drinking later, it was hella awkward waking up naked on the birthday dude's couch with Mila. But honestly, that wasn't even the wildest thing that happened that night. The birthday guy. He did something way worse. Anyway, after all that, me and Mila were both super awkward about it. She legit looked like she wanted to crawl under a rock. Neither of us wanted anything serious since we had just broken up with our exes, but we still swapped numbers and went our separate ways. Fast forward like 3 months, Mila texted me up asking to grab coffee. I thought it was kinda weird, but I figured she might want to go on a date or something. When I got there, she looked like she'd been crying. As soon as I sat down, she just started bawling. Turns out, she was pregnant. She hadn't realized 'cause she was super stressed and tired, but I was the only person she'd slept with. My whole life flipped upside down. We did a DNA test, and it was mine. Then she moved in with me 'cause she was sharing a room with a roommate. The guest room became hers, and my office is now Andreas' room, but we call him Andy. Having a kid wasn't exactly in my plans, but since Andy came along, my life's been better, honestly. Over the years, me and Mila never really had a romantic relationship, except for this one time she kissed me after Andy was born. We get along, I support them, I'm paying for Mila's grad school, she finishes next year, we split the chores, and I'm always there for whatever she needs. So, in November, Andy's gonna turn 3. We've been planning his birthday, it's around Halloween, so he and his friends are all gonna dress up. He wants to go as Bingo from Bluey. During one of our talks, Mila asked if I wanted her to move out. She said now that Andy's 3, we could co-parent separately, and I could even, get a girlfriend if I wanted to. I just went blank and said, no, and dipped to my room. Here's the thing, I love her. Having Andy is everything to me, but I'm also legit in love with her. She's smart, beautiful, caring, thoughtful, kind, dedicated, she's literally the most perfect person ever. But I'm way too scared to tell her. We have a kid together, and I'm terrified of ruining everything between us as parents and friends. I don't know if I should tell her how I feel or just keep pretending everything's fine so I don't mess up what we have. What did the birthday boy do? I hope this doesn't violate any rules in this sub. I didn't comment on the OG post, but I snooped in his comments to see what the heck the birthday boy did. I found out. Man, the real question should be, what didn't he do on his birthday? We hit up this bar, and everyone got totally wasted, then there was an after party at his place. We walked there, and I was up front with Mila and some other friends. After that, all I know is from the stories 'cause I spend the night with Mila, but apparently, he got home barefoot with some random dog he stole from someone's house. He decided to get back at his girlfriend for cheating on him, told everyone about it, and then hooked up with her sister while his girlfriend cried outside the room. He ran around the neighborhood in his boxers and ended up passing out on the lawn hugging the stolen dog. He still has the dog to this day. We never found the owners. I think dog didn't have any owners. Link. I finally talked to her about my feelings. So, I, 27M, posted my story a few days ago, and yesterday I finally talked to Mila, 25F. Quick recap, me and Mila had a baby together after a one-night thing. Ever since, we've been living together and I'm in love with her. She's absolutely stunning, breathtaking even, but I've been too scared to tell her how I feel because I didn't want to mess up our co-parenting situation. So, I left work early, picked up Andy from nursery, and dropped him off at my mom's. I bought some flowers, cleaned up the house while she was in class, and texted her, saying she didn't need to pick up Andy and to just come home because we needed to talk. When she got home, she looked at me with her big eyes wide open, and the first thing she asked about was our kid. I hugged her for a while, but she went full mommy bear mode and kept asking about our baby boy. After I reassured her that he was with my mom and totally fine, she finally calmed down. I brought her to the living room, gave her the bouquet, and started talking. It was a long convo. I told her how I'd been scared of ruining things and how it hurt when she asked if I wanted her to leave. She admitted she was afraid she was messing up my life, that she feels like a burden sometimes, and even blames herself for ruining my life with the pregnancy. I shut that down real quick. I never wanted kids, but honestly, since Andy and Mila came into my life, everything's been way better. It's been the best, most challenging mistake I've ever made. She also said she likes me too, and she's felt that way since she was pregnant but wasn't sure if it was just the hormones. After the baby, she felt embarrassed to say anything because she didn't feel comfortable in her body anymore. She never got back to her pre-pregnancy body and thought I wouldn't find her attractive. But to me, she's the most beautiful and hot woman on the planet. She also admitted she'd get jealous when I went on dates, even though she knew it didn't make sense because we weren't a thing. Honestly, if she went on dates, I'd be dying of jealousy too. We talked for a long time, even got into some deeper, more personal stuff. By the time we were done, it was late. We went to this small restaurant near our place for dinner. No wine, 'cause I was driving, but it was amazing. We chatted about music, movies, and she went off about Asoya for ages while I rambled on about LOTR. We talked about life and random stuff. At the end of the night, I got a few kisses in the car, like we didn't even live together, which was kinda cute. Then we watched a horror movie, awful movie by the way, but she fell asleep cuddling me. It was a day full of wins. New update, I finally talked to her about my feelings. Hey guys. So, I saw a TikTok video about my story and it's kinda embarrassing having a piece of my life narrated by AI ha. I decided to give y'all an update, but first, a quick note, please use protection. I read some concerning comments about my situation. Yeah, I was pretty drunk and reckless, and things could have turned out way worse. Don't be like me. Alright, here's what's been going on these past few months. We broke up, and she moved to another city, sad face. Just kidding, Andy's birthday was amazing. Everyone showed up in costumes, and the kids loved it. Andy dressed as Bingo, I went as Bandit, and Mila was Chili. Andy was over the moon that we all dressed up, but what melted my heart was when we were getting ready in the bedroom, and my little guy said, I always wanted this. I think the way our dynamic was before, we didn't really have these sweet family moments, and it makes me so happy that my son gets to experience this now. So yeah, we're officially dating now, and it's been nothing short of amazing. She's happy, my little guy is happy, and nothing makes me happier than seeing them like this. Has it been perfect? Nah, it's the start of a relationship with a lot of baggage. We're doing couples therapy because we've been living together and acting as a family way longer than we've been an actual couple. The first month was kinda rough. I felt awkward about being intimate at home, and so did she, mostly because of the family dynamic we had before. But I think we're building something really good. I don't have much else to update for now, but I'll definitely share if anything new happens. I told her about this account, so to the hottest woman alive, you've got my heart. Love you, Emilia, my Mila. Update, I finally talked to her about my feelings. A while ago I posted here about how I was in love with my baby's mom and I was strongly encouraged to talk to her, and I did. We've been together for 8 months now, and these have been the best 8 months of my life. Everything is worth it as long as I'm with her. Every day during these 8 months, I go to bed knowing that everything I experience with her is worth living. Now, for the biggest update, I proposed to her, and she said yes. And unlike the first time, we're already planning to give our Andy a little brother or sister right after the wedding. Thank you, Reddit. I think this will be my last update. P.S. The dog, Oswald, is fine. Edit. Other platforms, I saw some really disturbing comments. Some people are really worried about the fact that I pay for stuff for my now fiancé. Just wanna say, I'm not struggling financially, and even if she didn't want to be with me, I'd still cover everything for her until she had a solid career and a place of her own. My main concern is my son. If I can give him and his mom a better life, why wouldn't I? I think, that as a dad, it's my job to make sure my kid has the same opportunities, and I'll keep doing that, no matter if I'm with his mom or not. Stories number 23. Aita for not feeding my friends' kids. Aita, me, 31M, and my friends, same age, were all planning to hang out at Kyle's house. I arrived first before our friends Ben and Gary. I drove Kyle to the grocery store to pick up some food. There are 2 grocery stores right by his place, one is known to be slightly cheaper. He asked why we weren't going to the more expensive one and I said, lower prices, and he said, what, it's not that much money. I was a little annoyed because I thought based on his tone he was implying I was cheap, but I just moved on. I replied, we always split the costs 4 ways and it's easier getting Ben and Gary to pay if costs are lower. We go in the grocery store, I pick up 4 small pizzas and chips, everyone has already agreed to split costs, I paid and everything one will owe me except for Kyle because he is hosting at his place. This is how our friend group normally does it. We get back to Kyle's place at 6 p.m., Ben and Gary will be arriving shortly. We start cooking pizzas one at a time in a small oven. Kyle's 2 small children aged 5 and 3 start saying they want pizza. Kyle asks me if the kids can have some of the pizza for their dinner. I say that I bought enough only for 4 adults, and since we are cooking them one at a time and 4 adults sharing pizzas as they are ready, the kids will have to eat something else. I would had a different opinion if all 4 pizzas were done at once and we all take equal amounts, then Kyle is free to do what he wants with his allocated amount, but I thought it was unfair that Ben, Gary and myself would have less pizza because Kyle wanted to give pizza to his kid. Plus we were just at the grocery store and Kyle could have bought anything for his kids but bought nothing. Kyle's fridge and pantry are well stocked, he makes above average income. I felt bad since I like Kyle's family and spend a lot of time at his place. Kyle looked surprised but not upset. Kyle's wife was angry but did not yell, I can't believe you won't give my kids any food. She had not cooked any dinner for her kids or herself yet, which is what she would normally do when the guys hang out at Kyle's place. I have never seen any of my friends ever feed Kyle's kids. Kyle said, the kids don't eat that much. I told them both it's not my responsibility to feed your kids and we could have bought more pizza, but I bought enough based on my experience of the 4 guys hanging out. Kyle's wife was upset and stormed out saying she was going to the grocery store. She came back with the exact same brand of pizza, and the 2 kids really did eat very little pizza for dinner. I actually don't have kids myself and never paid attention to the amount they would eat. I feel bad now since it was Kyle's house and his kids actually ate very little pizza. But I don't want to set a precedent that I am feeding their kids. Ben and Gary heard the story and they didn't take sides. I feel bad for not just throwing them a slice of pizza. I don't think Kyle or his wife is holding a grudge. Stories number 24. Am I the asshole for saying, good job, after my kid defended herself from a bully by punching him? I need to see if I am crazy here. My kid, F13, has a bully. He's one of those kids who's related to someone in the school district. We've has multiple issues with this kid harassing mine, but my kid is bullied a lot sadly. We're actually switching her into a new school because the public schools have done nothing and this past semester it got physical. The bully pushed her and she stumbled back. Fortunately only scratches, but I was livid. The bully got suspension, but he's been suspended before. I tried talking to the parents and they make excuses, of which the wildest is that they'll probably end up together someday, because of how they argue. I told them under no uncertain terms that their son is not to even look at my daughter and his only words to her need to be an apology. I got the, well, he's suspended so what else do you want? Argument. This summer she was in STEM camp, she begged to be signed up, but so was the bully, and this time, during their outdoor break, the teacher was physically on his phone when the bully, in full view of multiple students, pushed my daughter and she turned and punched him in the stomach. The bully is now up for possible suspension from the camp, not the district, but I lodged another formal complaint, this time threatening a lawsuit. I asked my daughter if she defended herself, and she said she was afraid he was going to hurt her because he threatened to knock her out. I said okay. Good job defending yourself. Glad you're okay. Let's just catch a movie and decompress. I told my siblings on Father's Day and was immediately told by my eldest brother and his wife that I should never have encouraged her to fight anyone. I argued that I didn't. I am glad she defended herself when she was scared and the person I trusted her care to was not even paying attention. They argue that now she will see punching people as okay the next time she gets her feelings hurt, that I am a bad parent for opening that door. Am I? I mean, if she's in trouble and in physical danger, I don't want her to ever think she will get in trouble for defending herself, but now I'm second-guessing everything. She's seemingly okay now, and I took the week off so we can celebrate Juneteenth together and just decompress from it, but I want her to grow up and be safe. MITAH for saying good job. Holy shit, that's a lot of comments. Editing some typos and also clarifying some questions and assumptions, as I can't answer that many comments tonight. Multiple students confirm her story. So no, I don't think she's lying and started a fight for no reason. She's as level-headed as they come, and I won't say she's never lied to me, but I will say I tend to know when she does. Cameras are being checked because I formally requested today. I am not a dad but a mom. Not everyone agreed with my brother, but enough of them did that made me question, and he and his wife were very insistent. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, info, and the bully didn't hit back after that punch to the stomach? Reply, from what I understand of the situation, she ran for the teacher right after she threw the punch. Commenter 2, NTA. I have always told my children to never start the fight, but if a kid starts some shit and puts hands on you, you have every right to finish it. Self-defense is self-defense. Commenter 3, NTA. Bully got exactly what they deserved. Wished more parents were like you. Commenter 4, it's time to take this to the police. Get the authorities involved and get a lawyer. NTA. Update 1. So about a week ago I posted about a bullying sitting with my kid who is F13. And I mentioned this bully is a relative of someone who works high up in our district. I went into a meeting with the district after my formal request for the camera footage of the event, and I continued to follow up via email and call but kept getting stonewalled. I was frustrated, so I spoke with my BFF who works in education, and she suggested a police report could put a Bunsen burner under their asses. She was right. Once I had a copy of my report for the assault and armed with all my past complaints and emails with the resource officer of the kid's school, I sent it to my point of contact with the district. It's a freaking miracle, I got a call the same day. A meeting was arranged and I meet with them next week. Juneteenth was wonderful, and my kid had a blast. She hasn't been punished, and honestly, I was really enjoying spending time with her, so we took advantage of the time, saw a movie, went shopping, etc. I work a lot and am a single mom, so free time outside the general weekends has been rare as of late, especially now that she's doing camps, making friends, and wanting to do sleepovers and such. I posted some photos on my private account and my brother sent me a text. I won't go into everything, because his message was long, but basically he said I am spoiling her when she should be punished for fighting in school and I will be raising a criminal. I told him that he can mind his business and his own children, and he said, she's not even really yours, and I lost it. My message back was that he's not been supportive since my husband died, and come to think of it, he wasn't supportive when we married. So I don't take his opinion on my daughter with any high regard. And if he and his wife want to instill in children that they should let someone hurt them or others and bullies should have their way, then maybe it's time we spent less time around them. We were going to go to the birthday party for my Isael before all of this happened, a family event. I think my daughter and I will skip that for now. And before it's asked, she is not biologically my daughter but legally, and in the way of the fact that I love her more than anything. I formally adopted her when she was 2 after I married her father. He passed away when she was 6 and I've had sole custody since. Her biological mother is not in the picture. Since my husband passed, it's just been me and her in the day-to-day. I hope to update after the school meeting. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA. You're raising somebody to not be a punching bag or perpetual victim. Clearly, aside from you, none of the other adults, especially at the school, had her back until she took matters in her own hands and then threw them as needed. Your brother is a dumb ass, plain and simple, and honestly, going low contact with him improves your and your child's life. Commenter 2, NTA. Bullies only thrive when their victims do not fight back. You must fight back and, when you do so, give it literally everything you've got. The bully needs to realize that they need to find easier prey. Speaking from experience, I was occasionally bullied as a kid. I usually just ignored it when it happened, but I'd always hit a point where they'd catch me in the wrong mood and I'd simply unload on them. I'd deal with the consequences afterward, detention usually, but I didn't care. They stopped bullying me after that point. I hate to say it, but sometimes violence is the answer. Commenter 3, it's none of your brother's business. It doesn't matter if she's your biological daughter or not, she's your daughter. I wouldn't go to the event either. You are not the AH. Update 2, we had the meeting over Zoom. I came in expecting to have to come in guns blazing like a maniac. I was ready to go off, go fully feral. But I guess all the legal work I've been doing around this was sufficient fire under their rears. I was indirectly asked to not further involve authorities. The footage finally found proved my daughter's story. With this evidence and all the stuff I've managed to bring to the table, plus having a lawyer's contact info sent to them, they finally expelled the kid. I was assured he will not be at school next semester. It was a win but not enough for me to stop the legal actions. Maybe that makes me the but, fuck it. I don't care. Charges are being pressed for assault armed with the video. Here it's not life-ruining unless he keeps the pattern of abuse. But I am also looking to get my kid in a STEM-oriented school since that's her passion right now. I looked at packages and tuitions etc. and it will tight but doable, and I truly believe she's gifted/smart/hardworking enough that giving her a chance to explore this is worth any inconvenience. That should be it, right? Oh, you sweet summer child. My daughter doesn't even know about the meeting. She's been happily in camp elsewhere during the day. But a few days ago she asked me, "Mama, do you think I'm a bad person?" And I told her that I didn't. She asked me why does her uncle think so. I asked what she meant. My beloved brother's stepson has been texting my daughter as they are actually close. Brother has been shit-talking my kid. He calls her my stray kitten and not real family. That fucking did it. I am having a barbecue at my place for July 4th and I formally uninvited him and his wife. I sent him a text stating that the way he treats me and my kid is simply unacceptable. I am a mom and my duty is to my kid. I cannot have someone who looks down on her and treats her badly come into her home where she is to be safe. He is not a safe person for my child and thus not welcome in my home. My brother lost his mind on me so badly I had to mute his number a while to get some peace. He started with put-downs and insults but then he went for my kid. He called her some terrible things and then said that I am brain dead for keeping my stray after all the trouble she's made. I just asked, wow. What is your problem with her, really? You're doing the fucking most to hate her. Like, how does a grown man get off hating a literal child? He told me to fuck off, so I sent screenshots to mom. Yeah, I tattled. I'm grown. Don't give a shit anymore. Fuck this guy. He's my brother. I love him. But I do not like him, and if he's going to show his whole ass, may as well fetch mom so she can pull his stick out of it. That was an hour ago. My kid and I headed out for pizza. Have fun, bro. He better be glad it's our mom and not me about to hand him his own hind. Tonight I will try to talk to my daughter about the school, and sadly that uncle and auntie are great liquid shits. I won't use that phrase but I'm pissed, and so won't be around, and we may be taking some time just her and me. We are a team. Me and her against the world. I will always have her back. Oh, and she and I will together be taking Krav Maga. Thanks for the suggestions. With the bully dealt with, I think this is my final update, so I wanted to say thanks to everyone who kept this mama sane and were supportive. It's crazy how simple, kind and affirming words can bolster a person. For those who've shared stories of being bullied, I'm sorry you went through that, and as for your bullies, may a popcorn kernel be lodged in each tooth and unreachable every single day. Love always, Chavi and V. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, OP, I gotta ask, your brother has a stepson. Does he, in fact, refer to the stepson as a stray and not real family? I mean, if he doesn't, he's just a hypocrite on top of everything else. Reply, he's already a hypocrite. He's biologically my cousin. He's adopted himself. That's why I told mom. I don't have the brain space or energy to unravel his non-logic. Commenter 2, is your daughter a different color and that's probably why he has issues with her? I wonder if he is being racist to her. Reply, I mean, she's mixed, Afro-Caribbean and Romanian. Anyone on the outside looking in just assume my late husband was white, he was Romanian, and that she is my bio kid as I am black. Commenter 3, you are, as the kids would say, a bad B*********. Good job mom. Love. Edit to add, I'd love to see an update on how bad bro gets his ass chewed by mom lol. Reply, seems to be in high demand. Mom did flip out and called me for the whole story. I gave it to her. So we will see. Update 3. The Great Double Down. I am without words. A couple days ago I told my eldest brother, Mark, and by proxy also his wife, Julie, to stick it where the sun don't shine after Mark went on a text storm about my adopted daughter. For background, my daughter, Vivi, may not be biologically mine but she is my daughter. I've known her since her first year of life, I've been her mom since. I married her father when she was too small to even really remember and legally adopted her. She's only always ever called me mama. When my husband passed away, it became me and her against the world. The dynamic duo. Recently Vivi didn't start a fight but finished it with a bully she'd endure for much longer than she should have had to. The whole saga is on my account if you want all those details, but the short is she ended up defending herself from him physically. He's now expelled. My daughter was not punished at home, in fact I told her good job on defending herself. That's where my butt-crack-brained brother got on his bullshit. He never liked my late husband, unless our daughter and always had something rude to say about them. But this sent him into a huge tirade on how Vivi will grow up to be a criminal, that I'm encouraging violence, and the next time she gets her feelings hurt she will think it's okay to start a fight. Julie said she is concerned because single-parent households produce angry and bottled-up children who are FSR more likely to end up in jail. I told them I never asked for their opinions and the rest of my siblings agreed with me. But my brother wasn't done. He texted me vile things about my daughter and his stepson sent video and screenshots of my brother calling her a stray kitten, his apparent favorite insult, and saying that she is not my child and so on. I uninvited him to my 4th of July barbecue, told him he is not to talk to or even look at my child until he fixes his attitude and he just doubled down. Let me be clear. He is the eldest but he is adopted too. He is biologically my cousin. 2 of his 4 kids are stepchildren. Julie is a widow. His hypocrisy is breathtaking. So I had my daughter send over all the evidence she had and delete it off her phone and I took all my screenshots and the like and sent it to my mom. I snitched so hard. I don't have time for this bullshit. Don't know what she said to him but she called me back that night a few hours later and told me to let her know if he decides to show his whole ass again. She talked to Vivi on speaker while I finished making us some treats before bed and told her that she loves her very much, that Uncle Mark is being a jerk and if he or Aunt Julie try to bother Vivi or I again to tell her. It rained like crazy on the 4th so my barbecue only had a handful of folks who lived near me from the family and some friends. Vivi was happy, kicking her other uncle's asses at Mario Kart and all the adults are drinking and dancing or watching the rain on my porch when who walks in? Mark. Julie. Their 4 kids. Julie strolls right up to me with a whole ass chicken and asks where she can put it down. I was like, sorry what? I asked her what she was doing here and why they were there. Apparently my dear old bro didn't tell her about our most recent spat and the invitation being revoked. She looked truly shocked. I'm livid by this point but the kids are playing video games and Vivi looks happy. She's pointedly ignoring my brother who said hello to her and when he doesn't get an answer he throws his hands up and says, so much for manners. My other brother, Zeke, just goes UO to him and starts to talk to him quietly. I could hear Mark arguing but Zeke just kept his hand on his shoulder. I looked at Julie who looked like she was in panic/fix-it mode. I told her listen if they want to leave the kids here for a couple hours that's fine but my brother is not welcome in my home so she will have to be THR1 to pick them up. She thanked me, and went to my brother who now had both our other brothers talking to him. They all walk him out. I heard him say, kids let's go, and his wife said, kids I'll be back by 3. Be good. And pulled him out. I sent him a text reminding him not to speak to my child and he is not welcome in my home until he apologizes for all the verbal abuse towards Vivi and fixes his attitude about her. My stepdad and mom arrived not long after and when he was told what happened, Dad started to take his pipe to the porch and sat right next to the front door. Mom arranged it with Julie that she will take the kids home when she leaves and we managed to have a good time. Today is Sunday, my mom had asked we all go this week so we did. She did warn me Mark might be there. I warned Vivi. She said it was fine. I told Mom it's fine but Mark needs to give Vivi a wide berth. And I told Mark via text that he is to stay away from my child. He replied, I don't need reminders. Okay then. Service went fine, I'm not much of a church person but Vivi had a solo and sang beautifully, so this mama is happy. There was food happening in the event hall and Vivi asks if she can stay a while and chat with her friends. Sure I say, have fun. All was well for about 45 minutes. I was sitting with stepdad and one of my brothers when Mark comes over to say his byes. Everyone gets a hug but me. Fine by me. He says, Kitty did a good job up there. And I said, who? And I could see that it was in that moment he knew he fucked up. I don't know if he meant to say Kitty or not and I don't rightly care. I said, who? Again and he muttered, Vivica, and I nodded and told him that is her name. Same name she's had the whole time. Julie is trying to get him to leave and he is almost leaving when Vivi and her friends come up. She told me later she saw her uncle come up to us and not hug me and that made her mad. So she came up to be near for support with her friends. I did tell her that I'm grown and don't need her to come to my defense, that it's my job to protect her not the other way around and her response. Just a nod. Kids. Mark complimented Vivi and she gave a very plain, thanks, then asked if I was ready to go. I said sure if she is. Mark sent me a short text telling me I embarrassed him and our whole family with my show I put on. He's upset now because we don't need to make our issues everyone's business at church and that I don't even go to church so why invade his safe spaces. He called me immature and that I need to stay away from his kids so I don't teach them such poor manners. I haven't even responded. Vivi is getting dressed and we are going to my mom's for lunch. Stepdad said Mark outright refused to come when he confirmed I would be there. Mark has told our parents if I am somewhere, he won't be there. My reply. Does he promise? I told my dad, if he wants to be this way we can just go full NC. I don't have patience for this nonsense and that also meant I am not helping out next time he needs anything. I'm out. Dad got quiet and said he gets it but to remember that Mark's kids did nothing. He's okay if I want to stick it to Mark but asks I don't, friendly fire, on THR children. I told him we'll talk when we get there. He's going to want to bring up our family vacation of which I took care of the hotel and passes for because my job is within that industry. I'm usually the go-to for these things. We are supposed to go for the first week of August. We try to do one vacation as a big extended family per year. We'll see how this fucking goes. Top comments. Commenter 1. Well, sounds like your brother has some unresolved issues about his own adoption and place in the family. Having said that, I'm livid on behalf of you and your daughter. So glad your family, including your apparently emotionally immature brother's wife, are backing you up. Commenter 2. Wow, your brother is a tool with a real oldest sibling superiority complex. I don't blame you if you go no contact. Families change as people age. Maybe the big extended family vacation isn't always going to be practical. Do what is right for you and hold your boundary. Commenter 3. I'd really like to meet Mark and explain how and why he is wrong. Well done Mom and Vivi for handling it like adults. Update 4. Sorry I posted this the day after I wrote it. I am tired. It seems I picked the right sub for this, cause Mark is on his bullshit once again. Last night went somewhere. My kid and I arrive and she's off immediately to play with her cousins. I sat on the lawn with my stepdad and Zeke who was already there. Mom was in the kitchen. I did ask if she needed help but I got the same "y'all need to get out my kitchen" response as usual, so I retreated for my safety. Julie did come and she came straight to me asking if it's alright. I told her my issue is with Mark but I do still feel my own way about her words about my kid and single parents. We did talk. Julie is the product of a single parent house. I didn't know, both her parents were dead far as I knew, and she strongly feels that kids need a mother and a father in the house. She did admit that Vivi is a good kid and she think I do a good job with her, but when Mark is on his moments she's just learned to not get in the way. I didn't want to pry but did ask if she's alright but had this look like don't even go there, so I backed off. I told her that I love the kids and will do all I can for them but Mark is really working on his ticket to NC Foreverville. I love him, but I don't like him, and he is a real and present threat to my kid and her well-being. She said she understood and she hopes that she and I can still get on okay for the sake of the kids at the very least so that the kids aren't also cut off. She told me that they've been having trouble lately as her daughter, Sadie, and Mark have been butting heads a lot. Apparently Sadie is just like her bio dad, stubborn. She's a good kid and has the kindest heart but she's sensitive, Julie said, because she is an empath and expects everyone else to be too. I handed her a beer and asked what she meant because NGL I wanted the tea. I was curious. This was the most Julie ever opened up to me about home life. She and I have a whole history. I will have to post about that later, which is why I always thought she just never liked me. We drank some and she admitted that she and Mark have been at odds over the joint raising of the kids. Sadie calls him dad and is the only of his stepchildren to do so, but they argue a lot. Recently Sadie said she hates him and simply refuses to even look him in the eye and gives him one-word answers. Julie's eyes were watering and she kept wiping her tears and apologizing as it's been a lot. And after Mom talked with him, he's just been so closed off. I managed to gather that when Mom called him she immediately just got to the point and said something like who does he think he is bullying a child, her grandchild, like she wouldn't take issue with it. He tried to say something but she kept talking and finally asked him why he doesn't like her. He got offended and said he loves her and wants her to make something of herself, but my mom made it clear that if he is to interact with my kid he needs to follow my rules just as I've respected his rules with his kids. Julie said Mom said verbatim, "Not your house, ain't your rules," and she told him she is so disappointed that he is treating an adoptive child the way he hated being treated. Julie said she didn't know much of what happened from there because it became a fight between the two of them. He never told her he was adopted. Which is crazy to me because it's no state secret. I mean, we don't use the word adopted in our family, but by bio rules go I am my mother's only daughter and Zeke is her only son. We are no strangers to the concept of chosen family. Never have been. But Julie was, by her account of it, not surprised but more hurt. She did actually believe that Mark was my bio father's son, making my mother his stepmom. No. Mom is biologically his aunt, but his mother passed away because of issues during the birth of him. From what I know of her, I will call her Gem. She was amazingly sweet and knew the birth would be possibly life-threatening. That's why she managed to get the paperwork in place that my mother would take custody if anything happened to Gem. I told Julie as much and she got pale and said Mark said this of my youngest brother and made it all out to seem that he, Mark, and myself were the full biological siblings and fighting. He made it out that everyone else is adopted. It's such a confusing web of lies that I genuinely am not even sure I have it right. Julie spent the rest of time chatting with everyone and getting drunk. Mom let her stay over and Dad called Mark saying she and the kids were staying over. It's summer, the kids will be fine with Mom and Poppy's pool and whatnot. Mom got Julie to the guest room and I started to ask questions as the kids were watching a movie in the living room. What the hell is with Mark? Why is this even happening? He was not always like this, so honestly WTF. I was so pissed. You don't have to believe me, but I generally very even keel. I am chill most of the time. I tend to just be more of the gal that wants to calmly talk it out. One-on-one. Don't make a scene, but this is my kid. I've been fucking calm enough. And this is her uncle. We can try to dance around each other, but this will come to head eventually. And my kid loves her cousins. It will hurt her much more than it will hurt me or him. And fuck him. If his ego is worth more than my child's well-being, he is no brother of mine. Anyone who is out to hurt Vivi is no family. I may not have birthed her, but I damn well love her, and I won't be that parent that forces her to make nice for fucking family when family causes her pain. Mom got quiet and my dad made this angry/sad/something face and walked off. Mom pulled me into the backyard and we sat in the garden. She said she wasn't telling me any of this to excuse Mark at all, but she feels some of this is her fault. Mark came to her about his bio parents, and when he found out his father abandoned them, he became very upset. Mom said he was asking because my father, Mark's adoptive father, was distant with him. She said he, my father, got better as time went on, but he did use the phrase stray kitten a couple times. I feel bad for him. I do. But it's not enough for me to feel like I need to fix this. So I told her that this is very sad, but he kept his origin a secret from his own wife and his stepchildren hate him. This is already out of control. Him bullying my kid is a symptom of it, but even still, he doesn't get a pass. She agreed. She said she made a choice. Vacation can still happen with my help, but he will no longer be invited. She said Julie is permitted but under strict rule, and the kids are coming, but I can pull the plug if I want, and it can just be a sleepover at her place with the kids and all the parents can enjoy kid-free nights. I told her I would tell her by Tuesday, tomorrow. Vivi is at a sleepover with her best friend and I have work to do tonight, so I have a lot on my mind, but figured I owed an update on this. I'm just tired mostly, but I am not backing down. Mom said she will talk to Mark again, but I safe that even if he stopped his insults, I would need an apology to Vivi and for him to find help. I live Mark, and I feel for him because I feel like he is just sad now. He feels alone. He's not. He's been my brother forever and he's been family since before I was born. I will always love him. But he's being a prick. And if he's not a safe person for my kid, he isn't allowed near us. Plain and simple. I won't pretend this is easy. It's torture. We as a family are really close. But I can't torment my own child and obligate her to be around a person who mistreats her. I will not teach her to be small for bullies even if the bully is family. I got this text from him an hour ago. Okay, you win. I didn't answer. He sent, please, sissy. I can't take it anymore. I didn't respond, so then after 5 misread calls he sent, I get it. I'm not your brother. Okay. But I am family. Can you recognize that? I didn't treat V good. Sorry. She's great. Okay, love you, talk to me. I need to talk to you. Okay, I didn't reply, and so he sent, Mom has my kid, so I'm going to watch that Megan 2.0 movie a day. Exist a bit. I know I will seem like bad parent, and I own that. I just need a second. I am due to pick her up in a few hours, so here I am waiting to go in the theater. Top comments. Commenter 1, you don't seem like a bad parent, the exact opposite actually. And he still doesn't get it. He still makes himself the main character and acts as if the world revolves around him. Now he expects you to jump and kiss his feet. What? Commenter 2, thanks for the update. He does need someone to talk to. You've got enough info to call him out if he tries to misrepresent. But, bottom line is he needs therapy. He's got some serious baggage, and he's taking it out on everyone who isn't biologically related. That's not okay. I wonder what triggered it recently, though. Update 5. TWs, self-harm, abuse. Well, shit has officially hit the fan. Vivi was thankfully not home for any of it. Mom had her until her sleepover and so she's been at a friend's. I took the time to enjoy some peace, watch Bob's Burgers, don't judge me, and drink some whiskey. I was taking the time to feel my feelings about it all and not worry about Vivi stumbling in on me being upset. She's 13 going on 45 but I don't want to burden her with worrying about me. Truth is, this all hurts like hell. I love my brother and his behavior is painful. Cutting him off is painful. It's a shame it's all come to this. There was banging on the door. It was aggressive banging so I grabbed my baseball bat and looked through my doorbell cam. Mark. He was drunk and crying. I spoke with him through the doorbell cam as I texted my family. We had a long talk as Zeke was on his way to come get him. I listened as he complained that I loved my brat more than him. I asked how the hell he expected a mother to not protect her kid. We argued and he said some nasty things, but it finally came out that he was bullied by some family members and people from in school when he was younger. He was told he won't amount to anything and that's why he worked so hard to get his degrees and his job. Listen, it was awful to hear what he went through. From what I could gather as he was drunk, it was something no kid should go through. But how the hell is that excusing the way he's come at my child and at me? How does it make it okay that my child is asking if she's a bad person because he has put it in her head that she's some unwanted stray? He didn't argue and even apologized. He says he can't survive without family and asked me to please not abandon him. That he will do better. He begged me not to turn everyone against him. Zeke came up and told me to keep the door locked. Mark swung and they scuffed on my porch for about 10 seconds before Mark stopped and just sat down sobbing. It was messy. Zeke told me not to worry and we'll catch up tomorrow. He texts me later in a group chat with our other brother, Zion, and my sister, Zaria, explaining that Mark and Zion were having drinks at a local bar. Zion wanted to find out WTF is making Mark act out this way. Mark told him about being abused and that he was called the stray kitten. He always felt like he was not really family, especially when we all started to grow up and get married and some having children. He wanted things the way they were, but now his family is breaking apart. Then Zaria moved in with her girlfriend and my parents talked about selling the house for a smaller one now that the kids are all out of the house. Then apparently Sadie told him he's not her real dad in an argument, and Julie started talking about a trial separation. I have no context of these things, just that they happened. And then he and I start bickering, Mark's words not mine, and it's now become everyone turning against him and he's being iced out and abandoned. Zion told Mark that he should get therapy, and Zion is a psychologist and knows of peers who maybe can help. Mark got pissed and stormed out, then an hour or so later he was on my porch. When Zeke got to him, he poured him into the car and Mark ranted that he hated himself and now everyone else does too. He started to talk about dark things and self-harm and Zeke decided to take him to mom and dad. He sobered up and Julie read him the riot act for disappearing and acting out. She's making it clear she and the kids will be at the house. Abd he needs to stay away for at least a week. Dad says Mark is broken and won't even speak more than 3 words at a time. He's been just laying around and took time off work. We've all essentially given him an ultimatum in order for his marriage to be saved, per Julie, for him to be permitted near me and not excluded from family events I host and or pay for, me, and to continue to have help from mom and dad. He has to do therapy. He's saying fine and not much else. He sent me one text a moment ago, sorry, and nothing else. I texted my parents and they said he's physically okay, just on his laptop. I'm worried about my brother but can't get distracted. Vivi is my focus and she too needs therapy. I want to get her in before the family vacation if possible, but I don't know if it's possible. I have a lot of research to do. I thankfully have tonight and tomorrow with the house to myself as Vivi is enjoying her time at a friend's and she wants to stay over again tonight, then they are on a sleepover field trip tomorrow night. I will take tonight to research and see a movie or something and tomorrow check in with my family. It's a lot. I am texting Julie now to see about my nieces and nephews. I just want this all to be over. Top comments. Commenter 1, Mark is an adult who, regardless of his own personal trauma, is behaving unacceptably, and bullied your daughter. She absolutely should be your focus, and Mark is not your responsibility. That said, Mark is definitely spiraling, whether it is current issues bringing past trauma, or past trauma bubbling, or years of insecurity coming to a head. Your brother does sound depressed. He needs to own what he has done and how he feels. He is an adult and he is responsible for his actions, but he really does sound like he needs help, therapy, and he may need help admitting he needs that help. Not a shoulder to cry on, or a sympathetic ear. He may need those things too, but he has internalized a lot and needs therapy. Again, that isn't your responsibility. He chose his path, he bullied your child, and she is your responsibility, one you obviously take very seriously and are dedicated to. I don't think I need to tell you that. I just want to reinforce that it is good and right that Vivi comes first. Commenter 2, I don't understand why he is reenacting his trauma on Vivi. He's even using the same term. I get that everyone has their shit, but he should have dealt with that long ago. Poor Vivi, poor you. Stories number 25. I'm thinking about calling my stepmom, Mom. So my stepmom has been in my life since I was 7 and married my dad when I was 8 and I'm 15 now, and she's been just like my mom because my mom isn't in my life, so she kind of gave me the mother figure that I was missing, and I have a stepsister from her that is just like my sister, and her daughter is also really close with my dad, and he also provided her with a father figure that she didn't have. And recently I've been thinking about calling her mom, but I'm not sure about it or how would I start it. Like if I should just randomly call her mom or I should actually ask if I can. I talked to my sister about it and she said I should just do it. But I'm also worried about if it will get awkward, and I'm mostly worried about if she won't want it. But does anyone have any advice? Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, what have you been calling her? Just curious. Reply, just her name, Meredith. Commenter, does your stepsister call your father Dad? Reply, no, she also calls him by his name. Commenter, does she want the same thing as you? If she does, maybe have a completion to see who can do it first. Or have a sit down with the parents. Have you mentioned it to your dad? He would probably be the best one to ask. Reply, if you mean does she want to call him Dad? I think she might, she sees him like a dad, but I don't know fully. OOP's bio mom. I don't care about my mom, she left my dad and I when I was about 2, and that's why she's not in mine, because she didn't want to be, and I haven't seen her since and have zero memories of her. Top comment. Commenter 1, whether you just start doing it or whether you ask her if you can, I promise it will melt her heart. Mini update in comments. I will never change my relationship with my bio mom. She left me when I was about 2 years old and I haven't seen her since and have no memories of her. And I talked to my sister about this and she's okay with it, and we have a little brother, so she's already been sharing her mom. Update post. So 2 days ago I made a post about how I'm thinking about calling my stepmom Mom, and people were asking for an update. It could not have gone better. I decided to just do it instead of asking, and I did yesterday when she came home from work. I just simply said, "Hey mom, how was work?" and she immediately turned her head towards me and asked me to repeat what I had said, and I did, and like a lot of people guessed, she started tearing up. Then she hugged and kissed me and talked to me saying how she loves me and she doesn't see me any differently from my stepsister and little brother, and how since my mom isn't in my life she's glad she got to fill in the spot she left. And while it was awkward for me, it was sweet, and my siblings' reactions were also good. My brother wasn't home, but when he did get home and heard me call her mom, he was confused and asked why I was calling her mom now. And my sister knew that I was thinking about it, so she wasn't surprised at all when I called her mom. And my dad was also happy. And thankfully after that they stopped making it a big deal so that it wouldn't get awkward for me. One of OOP's comments. Commenter, that's a lovely update. Does your stepsister call your dad, Dad? Commenter, no, but I know she's thought about it. Stories number 26. Aita for not sharing my aunt's jewelry with my cousin's kids. My 30SF aunt, 60SF, recently died, less than a year after being diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. She never married, never had kids, and I'm one of 6 nieces/nephews. Both my sister and female cousin, N, are married with kids. My male cousin, C, 40M, is married with 2 daughters, and neither of my younger brothers is married. They're largely irrelevant to this story. I'm single and have no intention of having my own kids. Background: my aunt was a doctor and went into palliative care when she was diagnosed. She wanted to enjoy the time she had left, mostly with travel. I was close to graduating from surgery residency when she was diagnosed. She asked if I would be willing to be her private physician after graduation, accompanying her on her travels, prescribing her pain meds, etc. She paid me a little bit more than I had been making as a resident, paid for my travel, first/business class flights, nice hotels, etc., contributed toward my student loans, and put me on the deed to her house. I moved in with her. I also moonlighted/did locums when we weren't traveling and after she got too sick to travel, so I could keep up my surgery skills. Long story shorter, even with the time I wasn't making a full surgeon's salary, I still benefited financially from the agreement. My aunt had been a doctor in the foreign service and had accumulated a lot of stuff: Middle Eastern carpets, furniture, silk and cashmere scarves, art, jewelry, etc., in her career. Everything was open to all her nieces and nephews to split as we see fit, except the jewelry, which was left specifically to her nieces. There was surprisingly little drama splitting any of it. We even had everything appraised, so we were all in agreement on the value of what we were getting. My sister, N, and I all have different enough tastes in jewelry that we easily agreed on how to split the nice stuff, and most of the costume jewelry was set aside for my niece and N's daughter for when they're a little older. They're both under 4. Here's where C comes in. He said that his daughters deserve to have some of my aunt's jewelry as well. My sister and N said they're okay with splitting the costume jewelry to include his daughters. But he said that they deserve some of the nice stuff as well. My niece will probably get my sister's jewels someday and possibly mine and N's daughter will probably inherit what N got, so C says it's not fair that my niece and N's daughter will get more than his daughters. C also says since I got the house, the furniture in the house that no one else wanted, got to travel with my aunt, and she paid off a large portion of my student loans, that I should share the wealth. My siblings are staying out of it and N says it's ultimately my choice, but that what C says isn't wrong. Aita for holding to my aunt's will. Is this a hill worth dying on? I have a great relationship with my cousins and siblings and don't want this to sour that. Update, Aita for not sharing my aunt's jewelry with my cousin's kids. TLDR is that my aunt recently died, left her jewelry to her nieces, my male cousin was upset that his daughters wouldn't benefit. And because there was some confusion about who everyone was, 2 cousins, siblings, C, male, and N, female. 3 siblings, I didn't give them letters but let's call them E, sister, D, brother, and T, brother. C, N, and E all have kids. Me, D, and T don't. So the update. The 6 of us got together over the 4th. I was able to disperse the last of the proceeds from selling the art, rugs, antiques, etc. that none of us wanted. That ended up being a few $1,000s each, not life-changing money for any of us but nice to have. I will probably use it to go on a solo trip in my aunt's honor. Once I accrue enough vacation now that I'm working full-time again, I had decided based on your comments that I would offer any of my nieces, existing and future, if D and T end up having kids, that they could shop for my inherited jewelry for their weddings. Before I could even present that solution, C was super apologetic about the way he had acted. He was feeling guilty that he hadn't been able to spend more time with our aunt before she died, small kids at home, work obligations, etc., and jealous that I had had more flexibility to travel with her for those months, and that made him lash out. Turns out, his wife had essentially read him the riot act when he had complained to her that their daughters weren't included, reminded him that their daughters have her whole side of the family, reminded him that jewelry is traditionally passed down female lines, the whole bit. He was quite embarrassed by how childish he had acted. But I did present that solution, and both N and E thought it was such a good idea that they said the same, when the next generation of girls gets married, that they can choose from their inheritances, too. So all is well, thank you all for your support and kind words. I am not going to go NC with any of my sibs or cousins. I still miss my aunt, work is not terribly exciting but it's a paycheck and it's nice to see that my surgical skills didn't slip irreparably. Stories number 27. For telling my mom that if she gets back with my dad she is no longer going to be able to contact my kids. My dad is a textbook narcissist. I've spent the last 15 years looking into the psychology of myself and my family. My dad tortured me as a kid. My parents divorced when I was 2. I refused to be alone with him not long after that. I was terrified of him. He played mental games all my life. I had horrible anxiety and couldn't leave my mom's side other than for school. I knew she was at home working so it eased my anxiety. He would call me when they were out and tell me my mom had died. He did this multiple times. To the point I would be bawling on the phone. He'd pretend he was a cop or a DR telling me she died when I no longer believed him or would argue back. I have emetophobia and he'd use that to hurt me too. He'd throw money at me whenever I got upset at something he did or said. He told me I was gonna be a whore and be pregnant by 18. Despite my being a virgin and wanting to continue being one, he gave my first boyfriend permission to have sex with me despite my saying no. Thankfully the BF stopped when I didn't budge on my decision and didn't force it on me. This is just some of the things he did to me. There's worse. He's used my mom as a way to hurt me for years. Throwing her away whenever he got a new toy, and then dragging her back in with manipulation when his new toy had had enough of his shit. I cut him out of my life entirely a few years ago. Which caused no communication with my mom for 3 to 4 months, during which time I found my now ex-husband cheating, for 3 years, lost my father-in-law, moved to a new state where I knew no one. Eventually she stood up to him and came to visit me and the kids and apologized for being his go-between and trying to force me and the kids to have a relationship with him. She's lived with me for almost 2 years now after their latest divorce. She's helping with my kids and we split the expenses about 2/3 me 1/3 her. He started dragging her back in again with promising vacations and luxury, and when that doesn't work, guilt-tripping her. When I saw this I warned her that if she got back together with him then that was it for our relationship, because I cannot and will not let my kids see that toxic dynamic over and over and over again the way I did as a kid. I'm breaking the cycle. So Ada for putting that boundary in place. I don't know how to update on the actual post, but I need to know if I'm crazy and just need to let it go, cause that's what everyone in my family has been telling me. I'm beyond hurt. For my entire life I've been told to be the bigger person, forgive and forget, just go along with it, don't be difficult. My family has a cabin that's been ours for generations. He has no connection to it besides my mom. He never went when I was growing up. It was never in my mom's name, so he never had any tie to it even when they were married. A few years ago she started letting him go up there with his son. His son is about 13 years younger than me, so early teen. He uses his son against her and to keep her entangled in his life. I begged her not to let him go up there. Not to let him near my one safe place. The one place I had that didn't have his torture memories there. She let him anyway. He's been going every summer since, usually for a month or so. My cousins hate him and will not go if he's there. My brother, cousins, and I are set to inherit it from our grandpa, mom's dad, when he passes, which we hope isn't for another 20 years. My uncle doesn't like him but won't let him stop said uncle from enjoying the cabin. He decided he's gonna be there all summer. So that means I either get to be around a man who abused me my entire life, or I don't get to go on the trip I had planned for this summer. I was supposed to be there a week before my birthday, kids join me for the week of my birthday and then we come home. My kids were excited to go up. I'm so angry and hurt that my family doesn't seem to care about how much he hurt me. Every time I bring it up and make it a point I get met with, it wasn't that bad, the past is the past, what are we supposed to do about it? Update 2. For telling my mom that if she gets back with my dad she is no longer going to be able to contact my kids. Well, I officially can't trust my mom. My mom planned for us to drive up to our family cabin next week. She knew I originally cancelled because my father was gonna be there. So I thought she understood that I would no go there if he was there. She planned us to leave and drive Monday/Tuesday, be there for the week and then drive back the 30th/31st. My BF is in town and was excited to get to go to my favorite place with me. It's the one place I feel safe. My ex-husband was abusive. I'm stuck in a state 20+ hours away from my home with him and have 3 people I can truly call friends. My ex was never there with me. He doesn't know where it is. He can't get there. My BF took my mom and I out to dinner. And on the way I found out my father was still going to be at the cabin. She wasn't planning on telling me. She was gonna have me drive myself, her, my BF and my 2 kids 20 hours to the cabin and just not tell me that he was gonna be there still. I feel completely betrayed. I know exactly what would have happened when I got pissed he was there. I'd be told to not make a big deal, to get over it, to be the bigger person, the same shit I was told every time I tried to stand up for myself when he abused me growing up. Stories number 28. Aita won't allow sister to adopt newborn. I, 22M, have been harassed by my parents and sister, 37F, for the past 4 days now. My ex, 22F, had a baby about a week ago. Failed birth control on both of us. She kept telling me that she wanted this baby despite knowing I would only financially provide. We discussed abortion and adoption, I didn't force her to either option. Now that the baby is here and in NICU, my ex nowhere to be found. Ignored all my calls/texts. Nothing has been posted on her socials. Her parents can't even get in touch. One of the nurses handed me the car seat from my ex's car. My sister says she is willing to step up and adopt this baby. I'm not comfortable with that, because her husband, 47M, creeps me out. I don't have good feelings about him. I don't have proof, but I feel like he's on some sort of list. So I found a nice couple who wants to adopt this baby. They have been visiting us at the NICU, getting to know me and spend time with the baby. I like this couple. My family doesn't, since they want a close adoption. Plus the couple is 2 women and my parents are ignorant. The adoption will go through in a couple of weeks in case my ex shows up. For now they could be the legal guardian until everything legal gets settled. Also, I took a paternity test and am the biological father. Aita for not allowing my family to adopt this baby. Edit. I brought up some of the questions some of you had with the hospital liaison. I wasn't informed that my ex had asked about safe haven laws. I believe they were giving her or me a grace period to keep biological parents with the biological child. The couple was found with the help of hospital staff. They were looking to adopt another newborn, but that fell through. I was very vocal with anyone who would listen that I was not going to be a good dad and I needed help with options that I have. The reason I believe her husband is on some sort of a list, I was 15 when I met my sister's husband. He would give me looks that made me feel uncomfortable. He also tried to get me alone with him, so I would try to stay around my mom all the time when he was around. I refused to go to their house for any holidays. This does make my parents upset with me and has for years. I told my mom how I felt when I was younger and she brushed it off. Update. Won't allow sister to adopt newborn. Ex has been found. The police have found my missing ex. She was checked out by medical. I introduced her to the couple that want to adopt the newborn and my ex agrees that they would be perfect parents. The newborn will be going home with the couple after being cleared to leave. The couple is also going to pick the name. The adoption process is going to take a while. For now they will have temporary guardianship over the newborn. We have already started the process. My ex and I got plenty of photos with the newborn and some with the couple. I am still no contact with my parents and told my sister that I believe her husband is a pedophile that was never convicted. She refuses to talk to me. I am working on repairing my relationship with my ex, because I still love her. I am also working on repairing my relationship with her parents. She told me that it's okay to share the reason she took off. My ex, I called you when I started having bad contractions, but you never answered. I took that as you fully committing to not be around for this baby and I got scared. Nobody was there. You weren't there for me. I would have been there had I answered that phone call. I didn't answer, because I was at work and I didn't know that she was going to give birth early. I feel terrible for putting her though that. Edit. You know what, I'm going to be the asshole here and let my ex handle the situation now that she's back. Obviously her choice is better since she is the mother. She can decide to continue with a guardianship process for later adoption or to raise that baby with my financial support only. I'm wiping my hands about this situation and walking out. Going to focus on myself. Good luck to her. Stories number 29. Aita for refusing to move in with my mom so she can stay in her house until she dies. Long story short, my stepdad has ALS and doesn't have long to live, and him and my mom are relatively young. They live in a double-wide/modular home on 15 acres of land. My husband and I are wannabe farmers with not much land. We have sheep, goats, pigs, bunnies, and about every kind of bird. My husband and I own our own house, and it will be paid off in 5 years. We have poured our blood, sweat and tears into everything we have, and my husband has pounded every nail into this house and our barn. The house is beautiful on the inside, and has been freshly remodeled a few years ago. I'm very proud of our home. It needs some TLC in the outside however. The other night my stepdad said, "Would you guys consider renting out your house and moving in with your mom after I pass away, so she can stay in this house? This house is too much for her to take care of and maintain on her own. Since you guys will be renting out your house, you can go back." My husband flat out refuses to rent our house out, as he flips houses for a living and knows firsthand how tenants destroy things, and he doesn't want all of his hard work to get trashed like that. And dealing with tenants is not something we want to be burdened with, and that would leave us with 2 properties to maintain. The stipulation with us moving in with my mom would be that I wouldn't be able to keep my dog, we would have to pay the taxes, $8,000 a year, put a new roof on it, put new siding on it, and manage the property. Right now the house is worth $290,600. What makes it worse is that, the house isn't in my mom's name. My stepsister and stepbrother are willed the house and my stepsister's name is on the deed. So if we were to go live with my mom, the minute she dies, we are screwed, and we don't want to have a trashed and destroyed house to return to. And we don't want to sell our house and have to start over. We would be essentially raising the value of my parents' house, and walking away with nothing while my step-siblings reap the benefit of it. So we told my stepdad we are willing to do it, only if we can buy the house and we will pay full market value. The house's appraisal is $290,600. My stepdad said, "You won't be able to afford this house." We said yes we can. He said no you can't. I want $500,000 for it. So I told him no deal and now he won't talk to us. Stories number 30. Aita for allowing my daughter, 12F, to wear thong-style underwear without consulting her friend's parents. Alright, I've never used Reddit before, so apologies if this comes out as a wall of text, but I was recommended to post here in search of different perspectives. If you're a mom to a teen girl, I especially want to hear from your perspective. Background info. I'm a single father to my daughter, G. Her mom/my wife died in a car accident 7 years ago and it's been just us since then, apart from in the past 6 months where I've gotten a girlfriend. I mention that to point out that we've managed through some of her big changes already, and, being a man, I always thought I was doing a pretty good job of managing these welcome to womanhood moments. My daughter has told me I am doing good multiple times, but after this I'm not sure I can even understand from my perspective. What happened? About a week ago G comes to me and asks if we can chat about something. No problem. She tells me she wants to start wearing thong underwear and my first question was, why do you want to wear sexy underwear? She explained it had nothing to do with sexy underwear and everything to do with how she wants to present herself publicly. She showed me examples of her issues and I guess I hadn't really paid attention before, but she was right. In yoga pants her normal underwear was only covering about 80% of her butt and made some really awkward shapes out of the remaining underside. She described it as 10 pounds of booty in a 5-pound bag. When she showed me the boys' shorts, underwear under the yoga pants, she said, "Visually it looks like I'm wearing your boxers under these," and she was right, it was not a good look. She also explained that she felt like if anything, these lines and awkward aesthetics would draw more attention to her body. Everything she said to me made sense logically. I tried to put myself in her shoes and could understand a teen girl not wanting to attract eyeballs to her body, and especially not negative attention. After thinking it over, I came to the conclusion that I simply don't care about what kind of underwear my daughter is wearing, and if it makes her feel confident in her body, that's all that actually matters. So G got to go buy new underwear. She's less self-conscious about if people are looking at her, and yeah, the world keeps spinning because it's not a big deal. Conflict. Here's where I start to question myself and my ability to see from the opposite perspective. I got a call from the mother of my daughter's friend. She called to tell me that my daughter was a bad influence on her daughter, that she had been obviously corrupted by the internet, and G was trying to turn my daughter into a SLT to have someone to rear around town with. I was caught by surprise by all that, and she drops, "Did you know your daughter is wearing thongs and showing boys at school?" I say yes to the first part, and the second part just doesn't sound like my daughter. She says some pretty messed up things like I'm allowing my daughter to become a hoe, she's too young to be sexualized in this way, no wonder she's becoming a SL*T, because you can only turn her into what you know, and also pretty heavily implied that I allow my daughter to wear thong underwear so I can see her in it. Yeah, super vile and extremely upsetting, to the point I had to go chop firewood for a good half an hour after that to get my emotions under control. When G was home, I talked to her about what I'd heard, and she very genuinely had no idea what I was talking about. She said the only people who knew were her friends, but not because she told them, they just could see the difference. She says the whole friend group wanted her to let them see, to show off the straps above her pants, even to borrow some of her underwear. She said no to all of that. I guess her friends went home after and asked their parents to make the change as well, which was likely the catalyst for the phone call I received. When discussing this with my girlfriend, she was obviously pissed about the things that were said about me and my daughter, but she also pushed back on me, saying I should have discussed it with her friend's parents before agreeing. This was a pretty confusing statement to me, so I had her elaborate, and she said, when one girl in a group starts wearing makeup, they all want to start. When one starts wearing thongs, they all want to start. When one is allowed around boys unsupervised, they all want that freedom. You need to discuss these things with other parents, because when one girl takes a step toward womanhood, they all want to take that same step immediately. I can understand that perspective, monkey see monkey do, but I would never discuss my daughter's development with another parent. A doctor, a therapist, any type of professional, sure. But to call another parent and be like, "Hey, my daughter is wearing thongs now, are you okay with that?" Seems very strange to me. Am I the asshole for not discussing this change with the other parents in the friend group, before saying yes? TLDR, daughter changes to thong underwear, friends notice, a game of Chinese telephone featuring teen girls ensues, I get a phone call saying I'm a perv and my daughter is a SLT. Girlfriend says these changes should be discussed with other parents within the friend group before being made. I'm unsure of that, as discussing my daughter's development toward womanhood with another parent is not something I would be very comfortable doing. Stories number 31. Aita for not sharing the kitchen for my son, not the a-hole. Throw away blah blah. I grew up Orthodox Jewish, but it wasn't the lifestyle for me, and I left while remaining very culturally Jewish. My husband is Jewish, and I raised our children to be very in touch with their cultural identity, sent them to Jewish schools and sleepaway camps, but don't really practice the religion in terms of keeping the Sabbath, following the dietary laws, etc. Our son is 19 and has, over the past 2 years, become pretty religious. He spends the Sabbath with friends, which is fine with us. We have tried to compromise on the dietary laws by purchasing kosher meat/poultry for him, not mixing meat and dairy, etc. We live in an area with a large Jewish community, and he has carte blanche to use Apple Pay to buy himself whatever food he wants. Because I grew up in the community, I know the rules and do the best I can for him while not limiting myself to a culture that I chose to leave. I recently found out from one of my other kids that he is annoyed that we haven't converted one of our ovens, we have 2, into a kosher oven for his use, or purchased separate dishes for him, etc. Sibling was like, "Did you ask mom and dad to do any of this?" Son was like, "No, mom grew up with all of this, so she definitely knows what I need and is choosing not to do it." Sibling pointed out he can't be mad if he doesn't ask, while also pointing out that son is 19 and that this is our house, and if he's that pressed he can get his own place and do what he wants. Fact is, I don't want to. I cook and bake a lot. I like having 2 ovens. I don't want to relive the exhaustion of a kosher, semi-kosher, kitchen, though I could. Aita for not accommodating my son's religious beliefs to the best of my ability rather than a baseline level. Stories number 32. Aita, my 25F boyfriend, 29M, doesn't have $36 to take me to the movies on my birthday. It's my birthday today, I'm in the biggest relationship fight of my life currently. I have a tradition with myself where I see a movie on my birthday. I initially bought tickets to Superman for me and my boyfriend, and when I told him, he got mad that I didn't ask first and said he refuses to see that movie, 'cause it looks bad. I said it would still be really fun and doesn't matter much because it's my birthday, so anything would be fun if we were together. He didn't let up, so I refunded the tickets. I spent 5 days looking for a new movie to go to and finally decided on an older film at a specialty theater, cheaper than Superman. I let him pick between 2 movies to ensure he wanted to see it. I instinctually responded, I'd buy the tickets. I pay for almost everything in our relationship that we do together, because although when we met he had a wonderful career, he has slowly been losing work, freelance art director/fabricator, and I have a new stable job. I then asked him to buy the tickets. He had told me the night before that he didn't have a present for me and that he's sorry, so I figured this could just be a nice thing for him to do instead. He responded with a and said he can't because he's not working. I got really confused and asked if the dinner we planned would be paid for by me as well. He said obviously. He has about $3,000 in savings right now, as most New Yorkers/adults our age do. It made me so upset to realize my boyfriend didn't want to spend a single dollar on me after all I've helped him with these past couple of months. I've stressed for a long time how badly I've wanted a good birthday and to feel special, and he refuses to do anything to try and make that happen other than showing up and letting me pay for everything. I gave him the option of taking the plans for the day off my hands and getting crafty with what we do, as even if it's not much, it will have been a plan made by him where he can control the budget entirely and still make me feel like he's contributed effort and care. He said, that sucks, let's just do your plan. I don't get why we can't do your original plan. BC bro, why can't my almost 30-year-old boyfriend shell out $36-100.00 for one day on his own girlfriend? We have spent the last 20 hours arguing, as he is calling me cruel for humiliating him over this when I have tried my hardest to give him other options. It's now my birthday and he wants me to console him and is almost refusing to see me. Am I the asshole? This seems pretty ridiculous to me. I'm not asking for much at all, and it's my 25th birthday, not just some random day. Stories number 33. Aith for not wanting to pay for my niece/nephews on family vacation. We take a family vacation every year to a cottage for 1 week. There are 9 adults, 4 couples, 1 single, who attend. The cottage has 5 bedrooms, so everyone does usually get a bed to sleep on, just may have to share a bedroom. We've been renting it for a long time and get a good deal on it, but the last couple years it's been different because of the kids, but would like to continue to do this. 2 of the couples have no young children, the single has no kids. 1 couple has 2 kids between ages 5 to 8, 1 couple has 2 kids between ages 1 to 3. Every year we go, everyone is expected to pay the same amount for the cottage and food. They only split between the 9 adults, and don't include the kids. While I agree, children under the age of 2 are free, the 3 other kids do eat/take up as much or more space and have specific foods they want. We try to voice our opinion that it's not fair to the couples without kids to pay the same amount as a family of 4, but it was not received well at all. We are not saying we need to pay significantly less, but to pay equal amounts for the stay and food seemed like a lot to us. Are we crazy for not wanting to pay the same price as a family of 4? Stories number 34. Sister is mad that I have no reaction to her talking to my ex-girlfriend. My sister recently told me she has been getting coffee regularly with an ex-girlfriend whom broke up with me way back in 2005. She hid it from me for over 2 months, and then when she eventually told me and asked if I was okay with it, I had no visible reaction and asked her what she wanted from me. This ex and I dated from 1999 to 2005 from the ages of 14 to 20. She was cheating on me for the last 2 years and left me for the guy. It was 20 years ago. I'm 40 now. I was heartbroken but dealt with it and moved on. I have a wife I've been married to for 12 years. I'm a dad to 3 kids. Why would I care about someone from 20 years ago? My sister is frustrated because I have no reaction. She wants to know I'm okay with it or not. They were good friends back then but stopped talking when the breakup happened, but she says it's like all that time hasn't passed. I guess she wants my approval. Like I said, I literally don't care. If she wants to talk to her, that's fine, but I won't be interested. It's her life. She can talk to who she wants. ETA, my sister also felt as betrayed as I did about the cheating, hence why they stopped talking, but again the whole affair was 20 years ago and I dealt with the hurt and have moved on from it. I genuinely don't feel weird if my sister is talking to her again. Update. The past couple of months my sister has been talking and regularly meeting up for coffee with my ex-girlfriend. We broke up 20 years ago because she left me for another man and I am now 40. Quite happily married and a dad, and I had no reaction cause I literally don't care about the past or what my sister does. I realized I had never given my sister an exact answer, just that I had no visible reaction, just that I asked her what she wanted from me and she was frustrated over it. I ended up calling her not that long ago and we talked about it. I asked why she felt so strongly about wanting to know my feelings about it, and a lot of you suspected she wanted approval, and you were right. I explained in my original post that my sister and ex were quite good friends and that the friendship ended cause I got cheated on and my sister also felt betrayed. The two hadn't spoken in 20 years. When my sister and my ex were friends, they did a lot with me and together. They did a lot together and were almost like best friends. My sister told me that of course she was pissed and felt betrayed about the cheating, but also sad because she lost her only genuine friend at that time. I know she has really struggled to maintain good friendships, so she said when she happened to bump into my ex by chance and that they picked up where they left from, she leapt at the chance to kickstart their friendship. She said it's like a fog has been lifted from her and that she feels like she has her best friend back. She said she wanted to tell me but thought I'd be weird about it because at the time, I was so cut up about the breakup. She feels really guilty for being happy about rekindling a friendship with someone who caused me so much pain. After hearing all that, I understand why she wants to maintain the friendship and why she didn't want to tell me. I explicitly told her that I have no reaction to it because without sounding like a dick, I really don't care who she spends her time with. I told her I feel enough time has passed that I can accept my ex is in her life, especially since my sister told me she is still with the man she left me for and they are married and have a family, so they are obviously serious. She also said her daughters, my nieces, are the same age as my ex's kids and that it would be good for the kids to be friends too, which I get as they don't have many. Like I said, have also moved on and have been married for 12 years and I have 3 kids. I basically told my sister if she is looking for my blessing, she has it, but that I won't be involved or really interested in the friendship cause it doesn't mean anything to me anymore. I also told her she shouldn't feel guilty as it's happened, it's done and I moved on and recovered from it. Like if I saw the ex I would be civil, but I wouldn't be weird or anything about it cause again, I don't really care. Plus from the sounds of it the ex will really only be mingling with my sister, potentially my BIL and their kids, so I may not see her at all. She left the call feeling at least happier and I'm just glad she has a friend back, I suppose. Not an exciting update or anything, but I guess a good outcome. We were just mature and civilized. Stories number 35. I thought my neighbor was just nosy. Until she saved my life. I've lived in the same apartment for 3 years. Quiet building, mostly older residents, and one particularly nosy neighbor named Helen. Retired. Always watching. The kind of woman who knows if you're getting enough sunlight and will comment on your laundry choices with no shame. I used to duck past her door like I was avoiding a security camera. She'd ask a million questions. You didn't come home last night, everything okay? Why are you ordering takeout 3 nights in a row? You sick? You looked pale this morning. Are you getting enough iron? At first, I found it intrusive. Like, respectfully, Helen, let me live. Then, about 2 months ago, I got the flu. A real monster of a flu. Could barely stand, no appetite, fever dreams that made me think my cat could talk. I was alone, trying to tough it out, and not really answering texts or calls. Apparently, Helen noticed. On day 3, there was a knock on the door. I ignored it. Then came another knock. And then, if you don't answer, I'm calling the super. I opened the door a crack, looking like a ghost in a hoodie. She didn't flinch. Just looked me over and said, you need soup. And electrolytes. And probably a real adult. She came back with a care package, soup, Gatorade, tissues, meds, and an old movie DVD, because streaming makes you forget the classics. I didn't argue. Over the next few days, she checked in. Knocked at reasonable intervals. Never overstepped, just showed up. I don't think I would have ended up in the hospital or anything, but I was close to running out of food and definitely too stubborn to ask for help. Helen didn't wait for me to ask. Now I don't duck past her door. We say hi. Sometimes I help her carry groceries. Sometimes she reminds me I'm out of bananas. We're not best friends or anything. But if she ever needed help, I'd be there before she finished knocking. Moral of the story, sometimes nosy neighbors are just retired guardian angels in disguise. And Helen, you're the MVP of apartment 3B. Stories number 36. The day my brother taught me how to apologize without saying sorry. My older brother was never the emotional type. He wasn't distant, just blunt. Honest to a fault. The kind of guy who'd tell you your haircut was uneven and then hand you his clippers without blinking. When we were younger, we fought a lot. Not fistfights, but arguments that left bruises in their own way. He once called me useless during a group project meltdown in high school, and I didn't speak to him for days. He never apologized. Not then, not ever. He just acted like it didn't happen. I held on to that resentment for a long time. Fast forward to last summer, I was moving into my first apartment. It was a mess. The bed frame didn't fit through the door, I'd misread the lease, and I was about 10 seconds away from a full breakdown. I didn't even tell anyone I needed help. Then, out of nowhere, my brother showed up. No text, no call, just stood in the doorway with a roll of duct tape, a pizza box, and a toolbox. "I figured you didn't measure the door," he said with that same deadpan expression. "You're smart, just not spatially gifted." I almost laughed, but I was too tired. He stayed the whole day. Fixed the squeaky cabinet, helped me hang shelves, even set up my Wi-Fi, which I totally forgot I needed, and when he left, he just said, "You'll be fine," and tapped the top of my head like I was still 12. It was only later that I realized, that was his way of apologizing. Not with words. Not with, "I'm sorry," or, "I messed up back then." Just by showing up, without needing an invitation. Now when people say, "You and your brother don't talk much," I just smile. We don't have to. We already said what we needed to. In our own way. Stories number 37. Aita for stopping paying my ex's bills. Alt account so I don't dox my main. My ex and I split up about 3 years ago. No bad feelings, we just drifted apart until we realized that we were now co-parents, not husband and wife anymore. We have 2 kids, 13 and 10. My ex used to work as an infrastructure engineer and I was working as an owner-driver with my own truck. At around the time the kids were born we decided she was going to be a stay-at-home mom. The trucking was going well and I had brought a second truck and a van, so I stayed home doing all the planning and admin, while I had the trucks and van out. When the smallest started school the ex went back to work part-time, but her time out of the workforce had hit her really hard and she needed to learn lots of stuff and basically she couldn't get back in at her previous level and had to pretty much start over. Over the years the haulage firm had expanded and frankly it was getting a bit of a pain in the arse. We were too big for where we were and were needing to move to a new yard, so I sold it off for a reasonable sum and set up freelancing as a dev, did computer science at uni. We both had relatives pass away leaving us property and money. So we were mortgage free on the family home. When we split, I moved into a house that I had inherited. We basically split the assets in half, split the costs of the kids' activities in half. And when we were sat looking at the money she concluded that she would need to go back to work full-time and she would miss time with the kids, as they were with me the 3 days she was at work and every other weekend. I felt a bit bad for that, because if she hadn't been out of work for so long then she would be in a better place career-wise. So I offered to cover half of her bills until the kids went off to uni. She didn't want to at first, but I said to her that she helped me out and had now suffered as a result, so it was only fair that I returned the favor. It's helping my kids out, and I didn't want her to be running down the savings that was essentially the kids' inheritance. So this situation has worked out about as well as it can. We co-parent happily, everything is all good. Until she met a new guy. He's someone we knew from way back but we lost touch with. They started dating, she's really happy and she's talking about him moving in. Which I'm okay with. The kids get on with him and I trust her judgment and know that she wouldn't put anything ahead of the kids. So I said to her, "If Lado is moving in you won't need the money towards the bills, will you?" She said no she wouldn't, but she was thinking of putting it into the kids' accounts. Great idea, says me. I'll put some on their cards for pocket money and the rest in their savings. So that was what we agreed. But when new chap found out he went up the wall and accused me of being controlling and financial abuse. A few of our friends have also said that he's got a point and that it looks like jealousy. So Aita here. Update, edits and clarification. We have joint 50-50 custody of the kids, so I have no actual obligation to be paying anything, but that said, I don't want my kids to miss out on their many and varied activities, so I carry on paying for half of those. Likewise, I offered the extra money to help with bills because I wanted my kids to benefit from time with both parents and also to not have to live in a house where money is a worry. Some have mentioned when division of assets from inheritance and selling my business, these are mostly locked away in long-term investments so they aren't available. We were perhaps unwise in doing this, but we saw it as the kids' inheritance. My ex would rather have worked more than dipped into that money for living costs. The ex has been round for a cup of tea and a chat. It seems that Lado was indeed thinking that she was his meal ticket. Apparently he had suggested moving in but not told her that his landlord was ending his tenancy on a Section 21 to sell the property. When she started discussing money and his contribution, he asked why when I was paying for the kids. So she told him if he was living there he needed to chip in, and that if he moved in she couldn't keep asking for money from me. So she's upset and I think that's going to be over. In the meantime he's ranting to anyone that'll listen that I'm the typical evil jealous ex and controlling her with money. Stories number 38. My aunt kicked out her daughter after her husband made things weird and I'm the only one calling it out. Sorry if this is all over the place, but it's been on my mind for weeks and it's heavy in my heart. The way my family acts like all is good makes me so mad. My cousin, 24F, moved in with her mom, my aunt, and her stepdad some time ago. She's had a tough life. We're talking about bad things in her past, not stable, a long fight with mental health issues, and years just to feel okay again. She was starting to find her way. She's in school, seeing a therapist, and dealing with dissociative identity disorder, handling it better than many could. But almost as soon as she got there, her stepdad began to act weird. Not mean, but always there. Always close to her. Watching her. Saying things that were too close. Like, you act like you're much older, or you're so calm when you draw. It sounds nice, but it made her uneasy. She began to avoid him. Ate at odd times. Stayed in her room. Just tried to keep peace. I think she didn't want to think she was in danger again. Then one night, she comes out of the bathroom in a robe and sees him in the hall, just staring. Not speaking or moving. Just looking. When she asked what he was doing, he said, "You look just like your mom did at your age." She told her mom. She said she felt unsafe. But instead of helping her, my aunt told her to leave. She gave her some money and told her to stay with a friend or find a place through her school, just until things got calm. She said she needed to keep peace in the house. I told my aunt that was wrong. That the grown man who made her feel bad should leave, not her. She got mad at me and said I was too young to get married and that I was picking sides without the whole story. Now the rest of the family acts like I made trouble for no reason. Like I'm the one causing issues. But how is this okay? How do we just look away? A man acts creepy to his stepdaughter, and we kick her out. I don't know. Maybe this isn't the right spot for this. But I can't stay silent. This girl should have felt safe in her own house. She didn't. And I just had to say it somewhere. Stories number 39. A flight attendant changed my life forever. I'm currently on a flight back home, and an act of kindness from a flight attendant, who I initially thought was a bit rude and annoying, just changed the course of my actions and she has no idea. Early 20s. I have always been a bit of a dark person in some ways. I don't prefer to help others if I don't need to, and have always been self-serving and selfish when I shouldn't do so. On this flight, the flight attendant came by with the food cart asking if anyone wanted to purchase food. I typically don't buy anything from airplanes, but today was a rare occasion where I was hungry enough to be deluded by the flight menu, and asked her for a chicken wrap. I pull out my phone, instinctively double-tapping my power button to pay via Apple Pay, and she said I needed the physical card. The wrap is already in my hand, and I didn't feel like getting the card from the bottom of my carry-on, so I said, "It's alright, I don't have my card on me," and handed her the wrap back, feeling embarrassed. She responded with a hasty, "Oh. Just have it," and gave me a quick smile, then pushed the cart along. Honestly, I can't remember the last time someone did something kind for me like this, especially a stranger. In complete distraught, I bite into the wrap, and it tastes warm and full of kindness, the best tasting airplane food I've ever had in my life. This fuzzy feeling I have inside from a mere chicken wrap has fueled me to pass this feeling on to the next person, and the next, and the next. She came back around with the drinks cart, and I thanked her for her kindness, and she just smiled and moved along. She doesn't realize it, but she changed my life with a chicken wrap. I wish to give this feeling to as many people as possible, and pass kindness along, one small gesture at a time. Thank you, Air Canada flight attendant lady. The hoisin chicken wrap was not too shabby. Stories number 40. AIO for refusing to forgive my cousin who wore white to my wedding as a joke. I, 30F, had a small backyard wedding last month. I'm not one for drama and made it clear I wanted the vibe to be casual, chill, and respectful. My cousin, 32F, showed up in a white, floor-length, lacy dress. I was stunned. She laughed and said, "Relax, it's a joke, you said you didn't want anything traditional." I didn't want to make a scene on the day, so I ignored it. But the photos? Ruined. She stood right next to me in several shots and even did a twirl in one of the videos while someone shouted, "Who's the bride?" I haven't spoken to her since. She keeps texting me memes and funny apologies, like sending me a photo of a white wedding cake saying, "Forgive me." Now the family says I'm overreacting and holding a grudge over a goofy moment. But it felt disrespectful. Intentionally attention-seeking. AIO for still being hurt and keeping my distance. Stories number 41. AIO for canceling the bachelorette party I paid for because I wasn't asked to be maid of honor. I, 27F, planned and paid for my best friend's entire bachelorette weekend, beach house, decor, food, drinks, matching robes, the works. I spent close to $2,000. She told me I was, like a sister, to her and heavily implied I'd be her maid of honor. So I went all out. The invites went out this week, and I wasn't maid of honor. Her cousin, who she hasn't spoken to in years and literally didn't attend the engagement party, got the title. When I asked her about it, she said it was a family thing and hoped I'd understand. So I canceled the Airbnb, which was in my name, got refunds for everything I could, and let the girls know the weekend was off. Now she's blowing up my phone saying I'm petty and ruining her wedding. A few mutuals agree, but some say I was massively disrespected. So, AIO for pulling the plug. Stories number 42. I snapped at my mom and she snapped back and now I can't stop thinking about it. My mom canceled plans to watch my kid so I could work and I snapped at her for it. I was frustrated that she was canceling last minute again and she told me I always make everything about me and I'm self-centered. She has always been clear that she's not a sitter so I rarely ask for her help with the offspring but I was stuck so I snapped at her when usually I'd just accept it. After we cooled off we had a long conversation and I apologized for getting upset with her and asked what behaviors I can change to be less self-centered. She said she'd have to think about it and now it's been a month and she still hasn't gotten back to me. I don't feel like I can ask without it seeming like I'm making everything about me again but it's driving me crazy. I feel awful and second guess everything I do and say, trying to make sure I'm not talking about myself more than asked. I really don't want her to think I'm selfish but I don't know what to change. I feel awful, I shouldn't have snapped at her to begin with and none of this would have happened. Stories number 43. AITA for refusing to change jobs because of my friend's girlfriend. Advice needed. I, 23M, recently moved to Seoul and got a job as a stage performer at a local club. I'm in good shape, so my job involves putting on shows for female audiences, dancing, interacting with them on stage, going into the crowd, etc. It's physically demanding work, and sometimes I get inappropriately touched, like getting scratches on my torso, which sucks since my looks are part of my income. But the pay is good, and I really need the money. Here's why: my older brother recently battled a serious illness, lost his income, and my parents drained their savings to help him. Before this, they could support me financially, now it's my turn to help them. Enter my best friend, Jay, 25M, who's lived in Seoul for years with his girlfriend Annie, 27F. Recently, Jay used his work bonus to buy front row tickets to my show. Big mistake. During my performance, where I'm required to interact with front row attendees, I approached their section. Annie wrapped her arms around me, ran her hands over my body, and basically clung to me for several seconds. Standard work stuff. I was about to move on when Jay started yelling at me to get away from his girl and shoved me slightly. Our club's protocol: when guys get jealous, we're trained to immediately disengage and redirect. No arguing, just exit the situation. This isn't my first rodeo with jealous boyfriends, so when Annie full-on groped me during my crowd walk, standard for my role, and Jay started shoving/yelling, I followed protocol and walked away. After the show, Jay sent then deleted some angry voice messages before sending a final text. He apologized for attacking me but said Annie is obsessed with me and demanded a face-to-face talk, his idea. At coffee, he dropped a bomb. Annie won't stop talking about me. Her touching me was inappropriate. He insisted I quit my job. I said no. This income supports my family. Audience interaction is mandatory. I can't pick and choose. He brought her to my workplace, knowing what my job entails. Jay accused me of encouraging her, gave a quit or we're done ultimatum, and blocked me everywhere when I stood my ground. Now I'm sitting here like WTF. AITA for prioritizing my family's financial needs over my friend's jealousy. Stories number 44. Entitled Woman at Hot Yoga. This happened last year. I 32F go to hot yoga on Saturday morning and it's around a 35 people class. The studio has rules that are very simple to follow. No phones or shoes in the yoga room. This woman, who looked like she was in her late 50s or early 60s, came to the studio for the first time and thought the rules did not apply to her. Class is about to start. All 35 people are in the room waiting to begin. The teacher goes up to this woman and tells her to take her shoes off and put them in the waiting room along with her phone because it's the rules of the studio. She says it's gross to not wear shoes in a room full of people sweating. The teacher tells her these are the rules and we can begin until she follows them. This woman just stares at the teacher expecting her to back down. She finally takes her shoes off but refuses to put them and her phone in the waiting room, claiming they might get stolen. The teacher tells her the room is locked during class and there are cameras and this is a community of people you can trust. This woman then says to the female teacher, "You must have a hard-on for me because you won't leave me alone." I'm angry at this point. I work 2 jobs and this is one of the few things I have that relaxes me. I turn around and say to the woman, either listen to the teacher or leave. She looks at me in shock and just starts smiling and not moving. I tell her to stop smiling like a jackass and to listen or leave because she is inconveniencing a room full of people. When she realizes we aren't going to let her have her way, she finally leaves the room and people start clapping. She wasted like 5 minutes of our class time and now every class that day will start 5 minutes later all because one bitch wanted her way.